Councilman Ferguson. I'm sorry. This meeting is being recorded. Thank you, Council Clerk. Councilman Ferguson, would you do the invocation, please?
Yes. Father God, we thank you for this day, one that you have blessed us to see. We invite your presence into this meeting, and we ask that you will grace us with your wisdom and your understanding and your peace. Father God, we ask that you will do this in this meeting tonight, and let this be a fruitful meeting. We ask for your blessings, that you bless all the participants in this meeting. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Madam Clerk, would you do the roll call, please?
Or hello, everyone. Councilwoman Jones.
Present.
Thank you. Councilman Herring.
Here.
Thank you. Councilman Hairston. Councilwoman Guillaume.
Here.
Thank you. Councilwoman Fareed.
Here.
Thanks. Vice President Ferguson.
Here.
Thank you. And President Curtis.
Present.
We have 6 in attendance.
Okay. Do you have a motion to adopt the agenda?
So moved.
Moved by Councilman Ferguson, second. I'll second it. Any discussion?
Yes, Council President. Can we please move the topic to the first topic, the one we discussed?
Yes.
last topic.
Yes.
Thank you.
Under the topics of discussion, we will go with the charter review process first. And Councilwoman Ferguson. I'm sorry, Councilwoman Jones.
Yes, I'm looking over this. Was looking over this agenda, and I'm seeing 3 resolutions on the agenda that are not in my packet, and I'm wondering if they were removed for some reason, or if there's, or maybe they just didn't get into the packet. Resolution R. Well, there's no numbers to it. A resolution to adopt and allocate funds for outdoor fitness court. Okay, I saw that resolution. I found that because I had to do a. Okay, and the last 2 resolution to establish a stormwater management rebate program, and a resolution accepting a proposal of standard striping for pavement markings. Those resolutions were removed, or those 2 resolutions?
Council Clerk, are they in there? Were those removed?
No, they weren't removed. They're in there. The file was too big to send all of the documents in one file. So the packet was sent out electronically in 3 different packets, but you should have everything in there. And if I did miss anything, I do apologize. I'll send it to you electronically right now.
Well, this was the packet. No, don't send it to me. This was the packet that you left in my mailbox. So, okay, we'll discuss that later.
No, I apologize. No problem.
Councilman Jones, in the meantime, for those 2 that you do not have, if you are, capable of having another computer up, it is on the website. So if you want to read through it, you can access it that way for this meeting, since you don't have it in your packet.
Well, the resolution for accepting the proposal for standard striping, I think that needs to be removed anyway, because why would we go and stripe the whole neighborhood like Ward 3? We have a street project or a repaving project that's been in existence for the last 4 years that we need to finish before we go. And why would we pay money to stripe something when we haven't paved the streets?
It's on the work session, so I mean, that's a valid concern. So it's to work things out. And if we don't think that it's ready to move forward, then it doesn't have to move past this work session until things that you raise are satisfied.
Thank you.
Yes, Mr. President, I have a question.
Yes, sir, Mr. Councilman Harry.
Okay, so all of these items have not had a public hearing yet. They're coming to a public hearing.
I'm sorry, say that again.
All of these items on this agenda, all these resolutions on this agenda have not come to a public hearing as of yet, correct?
Give me 1 second.
I don't think any of them have.
No, no.
I don't think so.
Okay. And so the legislation that's coming up for a vote next week is not on this agenda. And there may have needed to be some discussion on some of those. I'm not understanding how this is going. I mean, I thought that we would just list the legislation that's coming to a public hearing because it's just going to come to a public hearing and we weren't going to do too much discussion on it. And the legislation that's going to come up for a vote will be on the agenda so that if there was anything that we heard at the public hearing, we can modify or change it. And that way, citizens will know what's coming up for what's actually going to come to the floor on Monday.
I don't follow. So we've had a work session for those already. And then it went to a regular session, then to a public hearing. So those are teed up to be voted on next week.
Okay, but they came to a public hearing. I know there were some concerns about some of the legislation. They said there's some changes were going to be made to some of the legislation, and the citizens need to be fully made aware and be transparent. This needs to be transparent of what they're going to see at the Monday meeting, what that legislation is going to look like. Because I know there were a number of concerns about some of the legislation.
Like what?
I mean, I've had a major concern, like I say, with the health and fitness, the health committee legislation. You know, it was things in there that I would have liked to see pulled out. I would like to see some things modified and changed. I would have liked for it to read a different way because people have a major concern with the way it's reading. Even though I understand what it's saying, but my thing is, I had some concerns with it. You know, I was assuming it's going to come back up for the work session for more discussion after we've had it, after we've heard comment at the public hearing. So, and as a matter of fact, it came to a work session. The public hearing, nothing happened at the public hearing. It didn't come to the public hearing. It was just on the agenda. We didn't discuss it because it hadn't even had, I mean, it came to the work session. It came to, then the regular meeting happened, and then we didn't do anything with it because we knew we hadn't had a public hearing with it yet. So then we had the public hearing, and now we're getting ready to vote on it a month later. But I don't know if any changes were made to it. I know there were some concerns. I would like to see what it looks like before. And I think it was a couple of other pieces that I had some concerns with. I have to look them over again. I thought we were going to discuss them tonight, or either we're going to be on the agenda tonight, because I don't see what all the discussion is going to be on these 12 pieces of legislation when it's going to come to a public hearing, and it's going to come back to another work session anyway.
Well, Mr. Herring, all the council members were forwarded the agenda, and I welcome all council members to comment if they don't see something that they want on there. If there are concerns, certainly I think Ms. Councilwoman Fareed was available since the public hearing to hear your concerns. But once we didn't hear anything back from any council members, we established the agenda.
That's all well and good. I asked about it on the floor at the regular meeting.
Okay.
I mean, my thing is going to prolong the meeting. I mean, that's what the work sessions are for, to tie some of these loose ends out. But again, like I said, and the thing about it is I brought this up over and over again, so I'm not going to keep on bringing it up over and over again and just be ignored about the way this goes. You know, I think it's a waste of our time to sit here and go over 12 pieces of legislation that haven't even come to a public hearing. After it comes to a public hearing, we may just be like, we don't want half of them to even come to the floor. You know, so I'm just saying that, but the legislation that we're going to bring to the floor next week that citizens had commented on, I'm sure they would like to see what is actually going to come to the floor, not the night of the meeting, but the day before. Because even as a council member, I don't even know what it looks like now. I haven't even seen the legislation, if it's been revised, if there's been changes made to it. I haven't gotten a copy of it. And I know there were some comments and some things were going to be made on some of the legislation that was brought up at after the last public hearing. So,
well, certainly you're not being ignored. Everyone has the opportunity to speak. every council member has a voice. This is the first time me hearing you saying something about it being on this agenda for today. Certainly, if you would have contacted or said something during the week, we could have addressed those concerns. But I mean, and as I said, Councilman Fareed, who sponsored that particular legislation, is always available. I don't know what more I can do to help, because I don't know if you want to change something or if you want something on there unless you respond to the emails that we send out that, hey, here's the agenda. If you have any comments, if you want anything added or deleted or edited, please reach out to us. No one responded.
Okay, so where do the citizens come in this whole process? It isn't just for me, it's just for the citizens too, because citizens had concerns about some of the stuff too. So they should be able to see what's going to come to that floor next Monday. It isn't just for my benefit, it's for the citizens' benefit, it's for transparency benefit. Why should they once again come to the floor on Monday and and they don't have a chance to, even if they wanted to address their concerns with the council member that's sponsoring it, they don't know what it looks like. The last thing they saw was what they saw at the works, but at the public hearing. That's it.
Okay.
So
Well,
I'm just saying, for transparency's sake and to be fair to the citizens, they should know what's coming to that floor on Monday for a vote. And we used to always have that on the agenda. We had the legislation that's coming up for a vote and the legislation is coming up for a public hearing on the agenda at the work session before the next meeting, before the next regular meeting. We've always had, and I mentioned that over and over again, but I'm not beating that dead horse any longer, because it's obviously it's not listened to. But that's the way it's usually been done. And that way the citizens all knew what was coming up, what was pending, and what was coming up.
thank you, Councilman
Right.
Harry. Councilwoman Fareed.
Yes, thank you, Council President. I think Councilman Herring raises some valid points in that we should probably put some process flow together as to, when should items be introduced, when should they be brought back to the work session, et cetera, just put some guidelines around it. But for purposes of that specific legislation on the healthcare committee, the comments that the citizens gave last week were taken into consideration, and we do, Councilman Hairston and myself have discussed it. We are going to take that language out that was referencing the part of the charter, which states the authorization that the council has, and the other change that the citizens were concerned about, I think, was the name of the committee. So we were going to make sure that it was clear to say advisory. If you have other comments, please feel free to send them over to me. We're happy to make any of the necessary modifications for that legislation, but I do think you raise a valid point in terms of what the process should be.
And I just want to, I'm sorry, go ahead, Councilman Harry.
I was just saying thank you to Councilwoman Fareed.
Okay. And I just encourage all our council members, if you do, when you receive the agendas, if you don't see something on there that should be on there, then please say something during the week. No one's, trying to not have other people's thoughts and opinions heard. But it'll be helpful if I receive feedback on the agenda when I send it out to the council, when we send it out, and not right now, when we really don't have much we can do about it right now. So with that, Madam Clerk, could you do the roll call, please, for accepting the agenda?
Yes, sir. Councilwoman Jones,
No.
Councilman Herring,
Abstain.
Councilwoman Guillaume, Councilwoman Guillaume,
I'm sorry, I was muted. I said yes.
okay, thank you. Councilwoman Fareed,
Yes.
Vice President Ferguson,
Yes.
and President Curtis.
Yes.
We have 4. This is passed.
Okay. With that, we'll move right into, just for the council's awareness, the minutes for the meetings listed in the agenda are up for review. please take a look. If you have any questions, concerns, comments, edits, please email me and the council clerk and vice president, and we can make those adjustments. So with that, we'll move on to topics of discussion, and we will move forward with the charter review process with Ms. Karen Huff. Councilwoman Fareed.
Thank you. And thank you everyone for joining us this evening. Thank you to Ms. Karen Ruff, who has joined us as well.
Can you hear me? I can't
Sorry.
hear anything.
I'm sorry. I meant to mute myself and muted Councilwoman Fareed. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Thank you. I just wanted to provide some context. So actually, in relation to the point that Councilman Herring was raising around the process for, like what should happen first, what should we discuss at work sessions, et cetera, I reached out to our attorney, Mr. Kopinski, for some guidance on, the process that we should be outlining so that we can get some more kind of documented protocol. And in that conversation, we were talking about the charter review process and how it was going. And, I shared my feedback with him on that. And he did have a suggestion that we engage with someone who's well-versed in municipal charters and has a lot of, legal and municipal experience to help us with the charter, because not that we're not capable, but what we lack and what kind of helps, what makes the process take a little bit longer is our lack of understanding of kind of what is best practice across different municipalities, and even what potential laws may have changed or are influencing items on our charter that we should be taking into consideration as we're reviewing it. So he suggested that we have an advisor as we're going through the review process. And also the suggestion was that to make sure that we have the full council's input and also are engaging the citizens so that they can have a voice and understand what is happening, because the charter amendment process is such a significant one that it should be, a public meeting as opposed to kind of just 3 council members working apart from everyone. And so he actually suggested that we reach out to Miss Karen Ruff, who has lots of experience. She's been working with municipal governments since the 80s, even though she doesn't look like it. So she has lots of experience. And I just wanted her to come here and kind of share a little bit of that as some context as we look at the resolution and start to discuss the resolution that that Councilwoman Ferguson and myself are proposing. Thank you, Karen, for joining us.
Oh, you're welcome. Can you hear me? No?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. I have a little bit of a trouble. I'm doing this by phone and I regret that, and I apologize. I have another meeting at 8 o'clock and I didn't want to miss this meeting. So I have been practicing law as a municipal attorney since, I hate to say it, about 1989, and have represented various jurisdictions in Prince George's County and in other counties, in Queen Anne's County and Carroll County. And I'm not sure, Calvert County, that's the county that those municipalities ran. So I have experience from a legal perspective, and I was also the city administrative officer and assistant city administrative officer for the city of New Carrollton and the town manager for Landover Hills. So I have a different perspective as well from being internal to the municipalities to see what issues come up, how they struggle to resolve some of them, and how the laws change over time. And so when you look at even your code and your charter, Sometimes they will reflect the older laws, like before Article 23A of the Annotated Code of Maryland was what governed the municipal corporations. However, now we have the local government, but many codes and charters still reference the old 23A. And charters are changed over time, piecemeal oftentimes. An issue arises that needs to be addressed. So jurisdictions will often periodically review their entire charter just to make sure it's up to date with the current laws, and to make sure that as it has been changed over time, that everything flows together, and that the processes and procedures that are currently utilized by the jurisdiction are the ones that are articulated in the charter and the code. So that is my brief introduction. If anybody has any questions.
Does any council member have any questions? Okay,
Thank you.
I'm sorry. Councilwoman Jones has a question. Councilwoman Jones?
So Attorney Ruff, the part that you will play in this is that you will sit down and give legal sufficiency to the charter changes that the council would like to, would ask you to review.
Yes.
Okay. Have you done this for any other municipalities?
I have. I've done it for other municipalities. I have two that have done an overhaul all at one time. Actually, three. Now that I think about it, if I go back further, in addition to the piecemeal charter revisions, and the whole process is articulated in state law, so it's a very defined process that we need to follow to do it. And we would make sure that we followed all the steps that are outlined there as well, with the notification and posting, et cetera.
And how long does the process take?
Well, see, that would be up to you as to how long the review process takes. Once you introduce the charter amendment resolution, I would say it probably takes about 2 months for it to be effective.
Okay, so it's not like you take a section of the charter and sit down with some council members and say, okay, I'm reading this, and there's new laws in effect that pertain to this. So we need to address this, this, and this.
So if you're going to look at the wholesale review of the charter, you may say, for our first meeting, we're going to look at section 1 through 10, and everybody would take a look at those sections. I would take a look at them from a legal perspective to see if it complies with all the current laws, and see if anything is inconsistent there, or if anything needs clarification. I might suggest that to you. But then really whether to change any provisions would be up to the committee and ultimately the council.
Right. I understand that, but I'm just saying, as to get, in order to start this process or to do this process, it would be where we would sit down and say, okay, we're looking at this section of the charter, and we're seeing certain things there that need to be addressed, and you will give your legal sufficiency for that. And then, like you said, it will be a charter resolution that would have to be submitted, and then a quorum of the council to say yay or nay after a public hearing.
Yes, and we would make sure, like I said, that we follow all the notice requirements and the approval processes set forth for the charter amendment and code.
All right, thank you.
Okay. If there are no other questions from council, Ms. Reed, is there anything else?
No, thank you. Thank you, Ms. Ruff, for attending. I know you had a busy schedule tonight.
You're welcome. Thank you very much for the opportunity to speak with you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Ruff. Next on the agenda is the renewal of the good trash contract. Is Ms. Barber on?
Yes, I'm on.
Ms. Barbara, I'll let you lead the way.
Sure. So a couple of weeks ago, I met with Mr. Dale Lipscomb from Good CGI Residential Incorporated, and he let me know that the city's contract was going to be expiring at the end of April, specifically on May the 7th is the date that it was initiated in 2018. You all had done 3 renewals after the original contract was signed, and the last one ends on May the, I guess, May the 6th, technically. And so I asked Mr. Lipscomb if there was anything that we could do to, get us through to the period where you all could vote on or give a consensus to re-enter into another contract with CGI Residential Incorporated. And I invited them to the meeting tonight because earlier today, I actually received some correspondence from Mr. Willie Good, about some increases that they were actually proposing as a part of that renewal. This was not mentioned to me before when I had talked with Mr. Lipscomb and when he had sent over the original contract. So today was the first time that I actually heard about the request for the increases. I did email those to you all this afternoon. I'm not sure if you had an opportunity to look at them, and if you didn't, I can go through what it is that they are requesting. The contract from 2018 actually has a section in it, section 2, and I think that the agreement should have been in you all's packet. The agreement with CGI Residential, the good companies from 2018. On section number 2, under fees, it actually states that the city is supposed to increase by the consumer price index each year the total annum price for each of the 3 option years in the contract. Now, just doing some numbers, and Mr. Good, you can correct me if I'm wrong, those increases have not materialized. Is that correct?
To speak on the CPI increase, I do have our in-house accountant, Patrick Carter.
Okay.
I think he's on the website. He can address more due to the fact he had put the letter together for us. So Patrick, you want to speak on that?
Okay.
Yes. Yes. Good evening, everyone. So regarding the letter that we submitted, we did not put in a request for the CPI for the period May 1st of 2021 through April 30th of 2022. That is the period that we have requested in the correspondence that we sent out.
Right. So that's a retroactive request that Good is requesting. And then they are also requesting that moving forward, the price would be increased by roughly $4,107.03, which is actually an 11% increase, although the CPI, they say, is only tracking at 7.5%. Is that correct, Mr. Carter?
Yes, that sounds about right.
Okay. So what I have in front of you all is their request. What I would suggest is that you have a conversation, I guess, with Mr. Good and Mr. Carter at this point to see if there's anything that can be done. I understand the CPI, and that things have increased in the past year, specifically with regards to fuel increases and other increases. I did have an opportunity to go online and check the CPI for fuel and for just regular cost of goods. And the Bureau of Labor Statistics does state that the CPI has increased about 7.8% in 2022 from year end 2021. So it would be up to council if you all want to renew under this provision of the 2018 contract. We do not have any other hauler or company lined up at this point because it was such a short time frame from the notification to the meeting. So I don't know, Mr. Good, if you all would be willing to adjust that CPI to the 7.5% that you state in the letter versus the 11% that is actually the proposed rate.
Can I interrupt you for 1 second? So
Sure.
the CPI that you're referring to is the CPI over the prior year. The 11% increase is over the period that we've had the contract. So
Right.
that would have, so that's, we're talking about two different things here. One, we're just talking about the annual CPI, which is the 7.5%. And then the other is the increase on the overall contract. Since the last renewal of the contract, you would have to take in consideration what the fuel prices were then, what the labor costs were then, what the disposal costs were then upon the last renewal. So that's where you have to take into consideration the 12% on the last renewal, not on the CPI, which the CPI only covers 1 year.
Right. So my understanding is from the letter that you all are requesting a retroactive CPI of 3.8% for the period May 1st, 2021 to April 30th, 2022. And then that total amount is $16,165.80. And then the second letter, the second page says the new monthly price will be $39,558.28, which is 11% higher than the monthly service price we currently pay, which is $35,451.25.
Oh, I see. So no, I apologize. You're misinterpreting the letter.
Okay.
So you're correct in your understanding of the retroactive requests for the CPI.
Mm-hmm.
But we have not submitted a price for the new contract yet.
Okay.
That was only until we renew the contract. So our assumption is that we would get a contract. We wouldn't get a contract by the renewal date, which is basically today. So that price is only good for the one month or 2 months until we get to a new contract. We have not submitted a price for the new contract yet.
Okay, so why does it say the new monthly price will be $39,558.28? I'm not sure.
That's under the old contract. We're assuming, because we don't have a contract yet.
Right.
So I just want to interrupt. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I don't want to drag this on. So we received this letter. This is my first time seeing it. I'm pretty sure this is council member's first time seeing it as well, as you stated. There's no way we're going to hash out numbers in this meeting. And so the main concern is that we have continued garbage pickup until we could get a new contract in place. And so with that, if I hear correctly, our current contract ends on May the 6th, 7th?
Yeah, so the agreement was entered into the it looks like a 7. It could be a 1, but I'm not sure.
And sorry, Mr. Good, I open the floor to the council to ask question as well.
It looks like May 1st to me, Council President, on this contract that I'm looking at.
That's correct. The contract ended April 30th of 2022.
Right.
Okay. Okay. And current price and effective, oh no, that's 2019. And so what I see in this letter that I'm looking at is that the adjusted monthly price is $36,798. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. And in the contract that I saw, we had the option of extending for a year. Is that what we're talking about here, extending the contract for a year? Or creating a whole new contract?
It would be my recommendation to create a whole new contract because the contract has ended and is at the end of all the renewal periods. So a new contract is needed.
Okay. And Mr. Good, would you guys be willing to extend a 2-month grace period while we work out the particulars of, because it's almost impossible for us to come to agreement right now with us just seeing this letter today. And I can't make this call upon myself, just asking if you would be willing, because it has to be the council that approves it, but to extend it for a couple of months until we could work out a contract?
Absolutely. With the years we have had the pleasure of doing business with the city of Glen Arden, we will do an extension. We as a company just need something in place before Wednesday's service stating that y'all will agree to doing a 2-month extension due to the fact you're trying to get your new solicitation out. What I did share with Ms. Barber later on, an email just about an hour, 2 hours ago, that the new rate effective now would be at $27 per month per home. And we would need a new updated house count with new growth in the city of Glen Arden to calculate that number for the new number. I gave her, because it's an unsolicited number, what I mean by that is, I'm just giving you a service price, because when they go chance to put a bid out, other haulers can either go higher or go lower or go the same, because I'm using an open number. So what I did, I showed her a number that we just negotiated with Prince George's County. And the reason that happened that way was the Prince George's County landfill that we take the trash to was at $59 a ton. It went to $70 a ton. $11 per ton increase at the county landfill where we dispose of the trash at. Then not only that, if you notice that diesel fuel we was averaging under $3 a gallon, diesel fuel now over $5 a gallon. And I ain't gonna even get into the part about labor and parts and maintenance. That's just all the cost of doing business. So I wanted to be transparent to say, look, what the biggest company, the biggest agency around you is the county, which is 180,000 homes. We service for the county 55,000 of that 180. And I just wanted to be transparent to say, look, I'm not trying to throw a number out of whack. This is the number that the county has selected. The number the county has negotiated with is $24 per house. But the city of Glen Arden have an extra day of service, the county don't. The county will have 1 trash day per week. City of Glen Arden have 2 trash service per week. And not only that, is you have unlimited bulk sometimes, and then you have the carts that we put out. Good companies, GCI Residential pays for them carts. With the county, we don't have to pay for carts. We don't have carts out there. So that's the difference of that $3 number. I bring the number all the way down to a comfortable number that we can go another 2 months. That's, we'll go as far as 3 months if you need it.
Okay.
But I just wanted to give a number out to be transparent.
And just to reiterate, so the new number is the $36,798.40 per month for this 3-month extension period.
I believe we're talking about two different things, right, Patrick? Because
Yes.
that's that, and I'm gonna be honest with you, how can I put it? The CPI asking, I think it almost take a second. Continuous service for the city of Glen need to go first right now. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm a company, I have no contract. So it's my right to not show up Wednesday, but I won't do that. You got my word on that. But I still have to have something in place that I'm secure by not working without a contract or some kind of agreement to service the city on Wednesday.
And I'm sorry, I'm reading the wrong number. It's actually $39,558.28. And so you said that we're talking about two things. We're talking about what it will take to extend this for 3 months. So let's just land there for 3 months. So if you could tell me that price, and then make clear to me, which I'm not clear on the second piece that we're talking about. Is this? I'm sorry. Let's go with the first one first.
Okay, the first one I recommended that we can do the service, continuous service for $27 per month per household, and that's why I request a new number count, because our number count has not changed, and I'm pretty sure there's some new houses was built in the city. So we have a stagnant number that stayed the same basically for a whole year.
And so my question for clarity is, so the issue is that you don't know the total count in Glen Arden, so it's hard for you to come
Right.
up with
There
what
you
that
go.
multiple is. Okay.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. So if you take your number count and time about $27, that will be your new monthly number.
Okay. And I take it's going to take some time for us to get that count.
We haven't had any new houses built
Since
since 2019 or 2018. The last houses were built were the ones that were built on Glen Arden Parkway in the Woodmore section.
And you have the numbers for those, correct, Mr. Good?
Well, we had a number that we currently build, yes. And if that's true, you can take that number house count, time about at $27. We just wanted to get a verification. I can ask my managers, have they seen any new growth in the last year? But Ms. Jones, you made the comment it wasn't, so I could take your word for it.
Okay. And do we have that number on hand right now, or do we have to look it up? Okay.
Dale or Patrick, I don't have the bill and I don't have the last monthly bill in front of me.
You want the number for the last contract? It was 1975.
There you go. But that last contract was in 2018, right? At 1975. Correct. And see, if his houses was built in 2019, we might miss that count.
I think the count is 2096 now. Somewhere around there.
But like I say, if they say they had nothing built back then, it was 1975. If that was supposed to be their total count of being built.
Okay.
So based on that.
When was your house built,
then,
Council President Curtis?
My house was built in 2017, and I don't think there was any building past
After
2018.
that. Right.
I think somebody made a comment, 2097. I couldn't see who made that comment.
Yeah, Councilman Herring. Actually, the number that the 1975 is the number that Good roll with after we got Woodmore, and I don't think it was another count after that. And I think it's 2096 homes in the city of Glen Arden.
Okay.
But I mean, you just need to get a formal count on it. I know it's 2000 something.
So we don't have we can go back and verify what the count is. But what we can do is, so our next question is, so in the letter, I see that the new monthly price would be $39,000, but the 1975 times 27 is 53,000.
Once again, it's two different letters, and I would like to, with Patrick blessing, I know y'all got to talk. We can wait till the next council meeting and talk about the CPI increase we missed out on. Kind of like we missed out on the CPI increase. You know what I'm saying? Because of issues of coming out in COVID, trying to come out of COVID. So we just didn't do our homework to get the increase or put the increase in last year. If I'm saying that right, Patrick.
That's right. So the letter is not to discuss or to reference the new contract number. The letter was specifically to go through the retroactive pricing, and that's what the 7.5% was. It was for the CPI for the past year. The letter does not discuss anything about the new pricing. Here again, we didn't even have the new house count to discuss the new price to discuss the new pricing.
Okay. But I get it. The confusing part for me was that in the letter says the new monthly price will be 39,000. And so
I apologize. That's a misunderstanding.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So the number that I've calculated based off the 1975 until we can verify all the homes at Mr. Good, you said $27.
Yes.
A
yes.
home.
Yes, $27 even.
Is $53,325. And what you're saying is that will be the price for each month for 3 months.
Yes, starting the month of May of 2022 for every calendar month.
Okay. And so, forgive me, I have to do some council things now. So council members, I know this is new for everyone. Like everyone here, I'm just seeing this for the first time. And let me pause because I do see Ms. Jones' hand, so I don't want to move forward without recognizing.
Sorry, I need to take it down.
Okay.
Thank you.
So, and any council member can correct me if I'm wrong, if I'm doing this out of order, but I would like to do a consensus to extend for 3 months until we can work on a full contract and put this out for bid for extension for Good Company for 3 months at $53,325. I open that up for discussion and then we'll take a consensus. Is there any discussion on that, Councilwoman Guillaume?
Council President, I don't mind taking a consensus, and I know we have enough meetings to deal with, but I'm thinking we may need to probably have a formal vote to do this. I don't know if we need to, no, obviously not today because we can't do anything formal during a work session, but hence you're saying about doing a consensus, but I don't know if we need to probably call another meeting where I consider this an emergency, to be honest, because the city needs their trash to be picked up. But I don't know what the process is. I don't know if the elder council folks would probably have things to offer on this, or my fellow colleagues, but I don't know if we need to have another meeting just to do a formal vote to do this. I don't know if this is a resolution or however we want to do this. And just to go on record, I do think that when the time comes for the consensus to be taken, I will vote, not vote. I am in support as far as consensus wise is concerned for us to extend for 3 months. So just want to.
Thank you, Councilwoman Guillaume. I welcome the more senior council members as well, just to make sure that we're not out of order and doing things the way we're supposed to.
To be transparent and honest, we are way out of order because the RFP should have been sent out to have this done. The Good Company should not be coming to us with these. I mean, I understand, and I do want our trash picked up, but we should have been ahead of this. So, Mr. Herring.
Councilman Herring?
I agree with Councilwoman Jones. This should have been picked up by us really almost a year ago. We can do a consensus. I mean, because we need to. What the company wants is basically a promise to pay. To promise to pay that they're going to get guaranteed if they pick up our trash that we're going to pay them. So, I mean, we can get a consensus, but we still have to do a resolution. It's still gonna have to come to the floor. A formal resolution has got to come to the floor. And not even a formal resolution. We can actually take a formal vote on the floor at Monday's meeting to extend the trash contract by so many months. I'm gonna tell you, 3 months ain't gonna be enough, but y'all wanna try it in 3 months, that's you're welcome to try it. But yeah, this is surprising. Also, just to follow up on something else. And maybe, well, let me let you get finished with the consensus and then I'll bring back my other issue I'm having.
Okay, so Councilwoman Guillaume.
I just wanted to say that, so yes, as far as doing a formal vote, but does this have to go in front of a public hearing? That's the whole thing, unless it's emergency, because that's going to prolong. I'm just trying to make sure, basically, I want this to be, I'm in agreement with what was stated as far as we should have been ahead of this, but I'm just also looking at the timeliness of this. And if we, we could take the consensus right now, but in order to do a formal vote, we have to bring it in front of the public. To do that, that's going to be in an additional 2 weeks. And then, like, I don't know what I'm just trying to see what we can do to expedite this legally.
I do believe that this would constitute as an emergency.
It is emergency. Okay.
And that's why I asked the council members, should we do a consensus tonight or call an emergency meeting tomorrow for an emergency vote to extend for 3 months the contract until we can work something out.
The council and the charter does give the council to waive the whole bid provisions for an emergency, which is what this is. It constitutes a health emergency. So we can actually waive the whole bid process and everything else and just say this is an emergency and we need to extend the trash contract by so many months in order to ensure, the health and welfare and the safety of the citizens.
Mr. Herring, my question is that by vote or consensus tonight, or is it by a vote tomorrow?
You can do a consensus, but I would still need to do a formal vote. You still have to do a formal vote.
And next question is, can that formal vote wait to our regular meeting on Monday?
Yeah, you could do it on Monday if you want to do it on Monday. Yeah, I'm sure. As long as the trash company feels confident that we're going to pay them, I'm sure it shouldn't be an issue if the majority of the council members are in agreement to that consensus once it's taken.
Yeah. Okay. All right. With that, if there aren't any other comments by the council members.
Oh yeah, I do want to ask a question about this this retro payment, because this is the second year of this, and we're getting hit again with this balloon payment at the end of the year because Good Trash did not do their invoices correctly. We had to pay like $91,000 I think it was not last year, but the year before, for the exact same thing. And I'm just like, you're submitting the bills. You have the contract. You should be adjusting the contract for that CPI increase. But it seems like it come at the end of the year, you'd be like, oh no, we didn't do it. Now y'all got to pay us another $91,000. This is the second year this has happened. And it seems like we got to bite the bullet on this every year because you're not doing your job as a company in sending us out the correct invoices. $91,000 is a lot of money.
If I can freely speak on some, Mr. Harrington, you know what? Life lessons show life things. Yes, we did make a mistake, but the city right now haven't put a package out to get their trash out.
This is the second year.
But understand something. Do you understand dealing with COVID, keeping people on the damn truck to get trash up? It's hard. A lot of things missed the crack. So yes, we made a mistake and we can negotiate that number with you. The 91,000, I think that happened on another reason why the price didn't get adjusted. That wasn't a CPI. It was the price set up per unit.
Okay, so
same issue with money, but it's not about a debate of, you think you hear again, but I'm telling you, if I could have put my resources somewhere else and not even show up Wednesday.
Well, to be honest, I'm of the mindset that, as a business, you need to make sure your I's are dotted and your T's are crossed, and these balloon payments at the end of the year, is.
I'm happy to be celebrating 30 years of business employee.
Well, I understand. Let me tell you this.
I don't
Point
need
of
you
order,
to set
point of
the
order,
agenda.
Council President.
Yeah.
Let me
Point
say
of
this,
order.
Mr. Good. I
You don't have to go there.
Councilman Herring,
Yes.
to maintain order in this meeting, I'm going to, cease this conversation between you and Mr. Good.
Mr. President, no, I'm gonna say what I need to say. That's one thing you're not gonna do is cut me off when I want to have a conversation.
Councilman,
you just went on and on with what you wanted to say, and I thought that was
Councilman Herring, I'm gonna let you speak in a second. If you have anything substantial to add, I welcome those comments, but I do have the authority to keep the peace of this meeting. If the peace of the meetings get out of hand, then I have to point an order and I can stop the conversation from continuing. I do not want to stop you from saying something that's valid, but back and forth between you and Mr. Good is not healthy for this meeting. So I welcome your comments. I just don't welcome the back and forth.
Mr. President, let me say this, and I've said this before. You cannot dictate to me or any other citizen what we can and cannot say on these meetings, as long as we're not being slanderous, verbally attacking somebody or something like that. You do not dictate. The Constitution gives us the right to free speech. Our charter gives us the right as a council members to get the floor and say what we want to say. So I'm going to say what I need to say, and you don't have a right to say what I can or what you think is good or what you think is bad. I'm a grown man. You're not. I mean, you're not my teacher. You're the council president. You keep order. Then what you should have did was did a point of order and just say, both gentlemen, please refrain from going back and forth and let each other speak and say their comment. That's what you do, because I said, as I was saying, I was a big supporter of Good. When we first got the contract, they almost did not get the contract because the process was not followed correctly. And I advocated on their behalf to make sure that they got treated fairly up and came into Glen Arden. And then there's a lot of issues that I'm getting from citizens that I don't care about, with trash being dropped on the ground, not being picked up. This bulk trash thing that they don't pick up this, they don't pick up that, So, there's other issues that we have to deal with also. But I'm just saying that, this is the second time this has happened. And I have to answer to my constituents, and every council member has to answer to their constituents on why we once again have a balloon payment from Good Trash in an amount of $90-something thousand or more, or however much it is. This is the second year this has happened. And the first time we had the balloon payment, it had absolutely nothing to do with COVID, So I'm just saying, my thing is, I'm an accountant. I know if I'm gonna make sure my company get their money that they're entitled to. I'm gonna make sure those invoices are right when they go out. If it's a CPI increase that's entitled, that the company's entitled to, hey, you need to make sure it's on that invoice. Because we set our budget based on the invoices or the numbers that we get from the vendor. And that's what we have in our budget right now. I don't even know, we probably gonna have to amend the budget again to put the money in there to cover this. So I'm just saying, it's one thing to sit here and say, okay, I'm in business for 30 years. Yeah, you're in business for 30 years. That's all well and good. It's another thing to sit there and say, I got to go to my citizens and say, again, we getting hit with another balloon payment. This is the second year. It isn't fair to them. And I need to explain it to them why it's happening. So that's what I want to say. Thanks.
So, and Councilman Herring, just a point of clarification, all that what you just said was valid. I have no problem with that. What I was ceasing was what was starting to be a back and forth. Again, I do not think that I have a right to tell you what to say. I have the authority to keep the peace of the meeting. I would have let you continue, just not the back and forth, and you would have had the opportunity to speak everything that you just said. So again, not that I was telling you what to say, what you can say, not say. I don't have the authority to do that, but I do have authority to keep the peace, and that is what I was doing. So thank you, Mr. Herring. So we could proceed with consensus to extend the 3 months. Council Clerk.
Yes, sir. Councilwoman Jones.
I have no issue with extending the 3 month, but I would want, of course, Mr. Good and the company would send us their expectation of what they're expecting to be paid. Also, for this balloon payment, it says the total amount due is $16,165. I do have all of the paperwork from that $89,000 we had to pay them. I will go back and look through that to see exactly what it was, why we had to pay that at that time. And I think that Mr. Good is correct that that had to do with the number of houses and not necessarily the CPI that he's bringing forth to the council today. So yes, we need to extend the contract. The only other thing that I would ask from the Good company, I know they had sent it out about maybe last year, if I remember, when I was council president, what they will and will not pick up and how things have to be picked up. And I think the administrative assistant had a presentation of what you all pick up. Now we're hearing that you all don't pick up mattresses unless they're in a bag, and you only pick up one at a time, or whatever your criteria is now, or how you want to do business, or what we need to know. Please refresh that information and send it to us, to the city, so that we can look that over and give it to the citizens so that they'll know exactly what it is you pick up and what you don't. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Herring.
Yeah, I have no problem with extending it for 3 months, but I still don't think 3 months is going to be enough time to get an RFP out, go over it, and vote on it. So, I mean, I'm fine with the 3 months.
Councilman Hairston.
I abstain because I signed on late. So
Thank you. Councilwoman Guillaume.
Yes.
Thank you. Councilwoman Fareed.
Yes.
Thank you. Vice President Ferguson.
Yes, but I also would ask that any information.
We can hardly hear you, Councilwoman Ferguson.
You can't hear me?
Hear you now.
I said I would ask that any information that was sent for Councilwoman Jones' request be sent not only to administration, but the legislative department as well. And my answer is yes.
Thank you. And President Curtis?
Yes.
All right, this is passed. We have 6.
Okay.
Point of order, Mr. President. Could the clerk rephrase that? It didn't pass. The consensus is. Please state it that way because we didn't vote.
I'm sorry. The consensus is you guys have extended for 3 months. Sorry about that.
Thank you, Councilman Harry. All right. Last topic of discussion, cable station contract. Miss Barbara, I know you had some questions about this.
Right, so you all have in your packet the consultants agreement with Still Beach post-production. This is the company that we engaged with after a review of other companies that would be available to work the cable station. We wanted to put this in front of you with an opportunity to maybe get it passed by July 1st so that the individual could start working here in the city. And I welcome any questions that you all have regarding this. This is to do the upkeep and maintenance of the cable station, to do live filming events, to prepare for the public meetings and things like that. And this is with the anticipation that you all would be getting back into the building.
Are there any
Meeting.
questions from the council members as it relates to this cable station contract?
That in our packet. Our packet.
It's called a consultants agreement. It's about
From the attorney.
it's 10 pages long. Did it go before the attorney? Yes, sir, it did.
It is from the attorney, all right.
Yes.
Councilman, do you need some time? I'll move on to.
Yeah, you can go ahead
to
and
come
move on,
back.
because I haven't.
Councilman Fareed.
Hi, thank you. I just have a question about in the scope of services section where it says the consultant agrees to furnish all the material and perform all of the work. What exactly is meant by all of the material? I just want to be clear. Are we talking that the consultant will provide equipment, or is there going to need to be equipment or anything else that we need to purchase for the consultant to use? I just want to be clear on what that means. Please, thank you.
Okay, I'm not seeing that in the scope of services. Can you tell me exactly which letter that is?
Yes, it is.
First page, number 2.
Yeah, right where it says scope of services.
Oh, I see. Uh-huh, yeah. So I'd have to double check on that. I apologize. I have to double check and get back with you on that.
Okay, thank you.
But he would also be providing equipment that would do live work and also working with the equipment that's here in the cables room.
Okay, thank you.
I'm sorry, Councilwoman Jones.
This is interesting because we already have equipment in the cable station, and we get money from the public education grant, the PEG grant, for monies that we can use to purchase equipment. I looked this company up, and it's only one person.
That's right, Mr. Rick Gray.
I thought it was Nikki. It said Nikki somebody. I thought it was when you go online and pull it up, their company up.
Mr. Gray is the owner.
Okay, and then $350 to do a meeting. I'm gonna have to look and see, unless Mr. Councilman Herring, do you remember how much a meeting was paid to Mr. Butler? But I can look it up.
Yeah, I think Mr. Butler was, I think he was $1,500 for unlimited meetings a month.
Unlimited meetings?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it didn't matter how long the meetings were, so. Yeah, so.
So yeah, there is a maximum of $1,750 per month on this.
I'm sorry, I didn't understand what you were saying.
I was saying there is a maximum of $1,750 per month on this one.
But that's with only a maximum of 5 meetings, correct?
That's correct.
So if, for example, we were in budget crunch time and it took more than 5 meetings during a month, this company wouldn't cover it.
I think that
They were rolling to the $450 per hour, right? Or
yes. Per event.
is there any back? I mean, is there like a brochure or something on this company that we can look at?
Nothing.
I haven't seen nothing. I mean, this is something that the attorney put together. But I have nothing on the company or what they.
Yes, sir. We can provide that to you.
All right, thank you.
Okay. Any other questions, Councilman Jones?
No, I'm sorry.
Okay. And so from here, Ms. Barber's going to go back and retrieve some additional information for the council, correct?
Yes, sir.
All right. All right, with that, we can move on to the legislation on the docket. The first up is the resolution accepting the 2021 Independent Auditor's Report. Any questions related to that? Has everybody had a chance to read it? Okay, so can we give it a number? Council Clerk, I don't know what's next in line.
I'm sorry. Okay, so this resolution. Sorry, resolution to accept the FY 2021 Independent Auditor's Report has been assigned resolution number R 32, 2022.
Thank you. Next up is a resolution to adopt and allocate funds for an outdoor fitness court as part of the 2022 National Fitness Campaign.
Mr. President, I have a question on this.
Councilman Harry.
So what exactly is this supposed to be? What does the equipment entail?
So it's a fitness court that entails a lot of different exercise equipment. It's on a concrete pad. This is proposed for the 7th Street Park. It's a number of low impact equipment. I can send over a drawing if you would like of the ones that they have put in other places.
Yeah, that'll work. I thought there was supposed to have been some children's equipment over there. I mean, I thought the big issue was that the children over in that area didn't have anywhere to actually go and play. So this equipment sounds like it's for adults.
It's for 13 and older.
Okay, but we got kids that's younger than 13, and they still have nothing over there.
Right, and I do plan on applying for another project open space grant in June. When that grant comes open, it doesn't open up until June.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Councilwoman Jones.
So you said this is for the 7th Street Park? I don't have that, for some reason, that resolution, I don't. Let me make sure. The Arden Housing Authority. But at the bottom of that resolution, Council President, can you put that resolution up? Can you share that resolution? Because I think at the bottom of that resolution.
Give me 1 second.
Is that the one that so this one is for the $30,000. Scroll down, please. Oh no, that's the wrong one. Okay, keep going. All right, so can you scroll down, please?
That's the wrong one.
That's the wrong one?
Yeah, this is the one for the MLK part.
Okay.
That's on the screen now. It's one more. It's one more over.
I'm sorry. Who's sharing the screen?
I am. I'm sorry.
So go ahead. You can stop sharing the screen, Ms.
No, I want to see the resolution that we're talking about. That's the one I think.
I'm about to share my screen.
Thank you.
Okay. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
A resolution to adopt and allocate funds for the outdoor fitness court as part of the 2022 National Fitness Campaign.
So this is the grant that, Mrs. Barber, this is the grant that you got for $30,000 that you sent us an email pertaining to.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so now I'm seeing down here a local match for $112,350. So, and then scroll down a little further, Council President. I read this. And it says down here, the source of the funds is coming out of the American Rescue Plan Act. So that must be the other $112,350. So we're really spending $142,350. Where is the information that shows us what we're spending this money? So you're taking part of the money, the $30,000 from the national grant that you obtained, and then you're going to take $112,350 out of the ARPA funds. So there's nothing on the back of that resolution that says what we're buying or give us any idea of what we're spending on. And then that $30,000, once it comes into the city, we'll have to have another, it can't use the same line item as the American Rescue Plan.
That's right.
So
I would have to have the treasurer allocate a line for that.
this resolution needs to specifically say what it is that we're doing here. It's too vague, you know. We're using the $30,000 grant, which is right. And then we're saying, you know, that we're using $112,350 out of the ARPA funds. But like I said, there's no document saying or showing what it is we're buying.
Okay, I can provide that to you all.
Okay, and whenever the administration sends a resolution like this, they should always provide that information so that the council will be apprised of what it is that you're proposing to do.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Councilwoman Fareed.
Hi, thank you. I have questions about this and the other resolution for the MLK Park. I'm just unsure how we are here, given that the council passed a resolution last year to put playground equipment at 7th Street Park. But we're now putting a fitness court, and then we're going to look to put playground equipment at MLK Park, but we haven't touched the 7th Street Park playground yet. So I'm just, you know, not sure how we have deprioritized the 7th Street Park getting a playground.
It hasn't been deprioritized. My intent was to apply for the POS grant from the Department of Natural Resources when it came open in June, because that's the only grant that I'm aware of that we can apply for a grant for playground equipment. I had looked around to see if there were other grants that were available, and I haven't found any yet. The resolution instructed me to find a grant to apply for, and this one was available. And so I did apply for it, and we did get it awarded. If you all would prefer not to have it, then certainly we can let them know that we would prefer not to do the equipment.
No, I think I'm just unsure of what the plan is, where a fitness court came in to play for the 7th Street Park. And I think, you know, echoing what Councilwoman Jones has said, like, what is the full plan? I don't know what the full plan is. I don't know if we're going to be able to tell the people on 7th Street that they're getting a park, a playground for children or not. I understand that the equipment, the fitness court is there, and I don't have a problem with that. I'm just wanting to understand what the full plan is for 7th Street Park and what those timelines are. And if there is money for playgrounds, which it appears to be for MLK playground, why aren't we doing the 7th Street playground before the MLK playground? And I know we're talking about two different resolutions, but it just makes sense to talk about them together right here. I think I'm just confused.
Right, so the playground at MLK Park is with a previous program open space grant that you all won a number of years ago and put in part of the playground equipment. That grant has to be expended by the middle of next year. And so that's why we did attempted to get 3 bids to do that, because that work is imminent. It has to be done by the spring of next year, or else the city has to give the money back. There's about $170, I think, $1,000 that's left on that grant. And we were trying to get a bid that would work with the previous bid that you all had done back in 2020, I believe. And the scope of the work has changed a little bit because the prices have gone up. And so that's what you have in your packet is the other equipment for MLK. And that's why that seemingly has a more priority, is because it is a more imminent need to get that grant money spent so that we don't have to send that grant money back. The other grant, as I mentioned, doesn't open up until June, and we plan to apply for that for playground equipment for the 7th Street Park. That grant, it typically takes a while to find out about winning it. You put it in, I think by November, and you don't find out until the next May. So it does have a long process time on that program open space grant from the Department of Natural Resources. We will endeavor to try and find other grants that are available for playground equipment for the 7th Street Park as per the resolution that was passed in October, but grants for playground equipment are few and far between. And that's why we did want to get something available to the community through the National Fitness Campaign exercise equipment, so that it would be kind of equal to the MLK Park, which has playground equipment and fitness equipment, so that you have playground equipment and fitness equipment at the 7th Street Park.
Thank you. That is very helpful and the most comprehensive explanation I've gotten yet around how these two parks are being managed. So that's a satisfactory response to me. My question regarding the grant that you're looking to apply to in June, is that a refundable grant where we could pay for it and then get reimbursed at a later point in order to expedite the process and not have to wait until next year to put playground equipment into 7th Street Park?
You do have to win the award first. And like I said, the time period on that grant is long, as far as from when you put it in to when you actually find out when you win the grant. It is a reimbursable grant in so much as after you win the grant, you have to pay for the equipment first, and then you submit to them to get paid back. But you can't do any work in advance of receiving the grant and then apply for the grant with an expectation of getting paid back.
Thank you. Thank you.
Councilwoman Jones?
Yeah, the other question I have concerning this $112,000, the playground equipment I'm assuming that the equipment has already, the company has already been chosen. Did you do 3 bids to get this company, or we're just? Right,
so you have that packet in your in there too. It's the all recreation. We attempted to get 3 bids. We talked to Playground Specialists, which was the original company, and they gave us a bid that was over the amount of the grant. We got another bid in from All Recreation or Burke that we received that is within the grant, and then we asked for a response from Game Time, and Game Time submitted a no bid. So those were the 3 vendors that we went to. We did not do an RFP because we felt like we would get those 3 bids, but at the last minute, Game Time decided they wouldn't do a no bid. So if you all want me to, I can do a formal RFP and try and get 3 bids. But as you know, when you submit an RFP, you may or may not get the 3 bids. You get what you get when you do an RFP.
I understand that. And like I said, okay, now I see the companies for the MLK Park, but I don't see anything on my resolution for this resolution as to who was chosen, unless maybe these are the wrong, maybe they connected these. You said it was Burke, or Burke is the one with MLK?
Burke is MLK. They actually come with All Rec.
I got that one.
Yeah.
But I don't have any of the other 3 that was anything attached to that other one.
For 7th Street?
Yes.
Right, so 7th Street has not gone out to bid for the playground, for the fitness equipment. It was a grant application that you have to be invited to. And so we were invited to apply.
Well, that was for the $30,000, correct?
That's correct. We have not submitted for the other grant yet.
The other $112,000 that we're spending here, I'm assuming that we've selected a company with equipment.
The other $112,000 we're proposing that would come out of the ARPA funds.
Right, I understand that, but I'm saying, who are we using? What company are we using to do this equipment for the 7th Street Park? When you got this $30,000 grant, did the people, is part of the grant that we should use a specific company?
Yes, it's that company. It's called the National Fitness Campaign.
So we're going to give them an additional $112,350 to do what I'll say the city is proposing.
That's correct.
Thank you.
Mr. President, I have a follow-up question on this.
Councilman Harry?
That's interesting. So they're going to give us a grant and we're going to pay them $112,000.
That's the way it works. Yep.
Okay. Now another question. So I guess my concern is this. So are they going to do any architectural drawings, any type of landscape layout for this park? Because again, if we put the equipment in there that we have the grant for, and we put it right in the middle of the lot, you know, everything else would just have to be built in around it. And I think we need to look at that and have some type of design layout so that we don't just have that there and then just pluck stuff around it in any kind of form or fashion. So, I mean, is this company going to do an architectural layout for a full, complete park with low impact and children's equipment? Or do we have to get somebody to do that? Because it's no sense in having them drop something in the middle of that park and then we got to figure out how to put the rest of the equipment in there.
Right. So we do have an RFP out on the street for architectural and engineering services that we would engage the architect to do a site plan for that in conjunction with the drawings for the concrete pad and for the equipment that the National Fitness Campaign would supply. So we would work with our own architect and with their staff for a site plan. And then they have the drawings for the concrete pad and for the equipment, and they do all of the installation of that.
Okay, well, I mean, thank you. I just want to be sure that that information is shared with the council before it goes too far ahead with the drawings and everything, because I mean, I would like to see what they're doing. I'm really interested because I think the park needs to be, I originally thought it was going to be a children's park, really, honestly, and I didn't think low impact was really needed there because it's a small lot. But I would like to see the drawings when they get them done, just to see what's going on. All right, thank you.
Okay. Next up is a resolution to approve an agreement with All Recreation for the purchase. I'm sorry, did we give that are we prepared to give the previous one a resolution number? I think more work needs to be done on it, so we'll just pass because it's not ready to come to the floor yet. Anyway, so I just wanted to settle that. So next one now is a resolution to approve an agreement with All Recreation for the purchase and installation of new playground equipment and low impact wellness equipment.
Right, so this is for the MLK Park. And I think if you have the resolution, it has the drawings and the information and the quotes from the three companies that we reached out to. All Recreation is the lowest apparent bidder at, I think it was 150. It's $149,990, $150,000 roughly. The drawings that this information was based off of was the original bid that Playground Specialists submitted back when you all did the first phase of the park. There was supposed to be two phases of the park, phase one, which is there currently, and phase two, which was adding on slightly to the playground equipment with swings and a climber, and also installation of fitness equipment. And so when I went to the other two companies, I asked them to spec something that was similar in regard to what Playground Specialists had submitted. And I asked Playground Specialists to update their quote. Playground Specialist quote was over $200,000, which is over the amount of the grant. But they are the original installers of the equipment. And as I mentioned, the third company that we went to, which was Game Time, decided not to submit a bid at this time.
Any questions from the council? Okay.
Yeah, Mr. President, just one question.
Councilman Harry?
Yes, Ms. Barber, and this is, and this vendor has done other state or county contracts.
I don't know that they've done other county contracts, but they have done other work in the state.
The state.
I can get you a list of other jurisdictions that they've worked for.
All right, thank you.
Okay. Council Clerk, can we get this a resolution number, please?
Okay. A resolution to approve an agreement with All Recreation for the purchase and installation of new playground equipment and low impact wellness equipment. It's now been given resolution number R33-2022.
Thank you. So I'm going to 1, 2, 3, 4. So I'm going to bunch these next 4 together. These are the appointments of resolution for the appointments of Jarrell Clay, Daryl Fields, Dina Price, and Marcia Connelly. And I know that on correspondence that I think it was Councilwoman Jones said that we do not need resumes. So then the next step is whatever council wants to do next as it relates to either interview these appointees or move forward with the appointment. I believe the last time we actually, I don't think we had anybody for Housing Authority that we've interviewed. So I just wanted to open the floor for that next step. It'd be hard to, I was just going to finish it off saying it'll be hard to do an interview without, I guess, a resume. Would be my point, but Councilman Harry?
Yeah, I mean, that's what I was going to say. I know absolutely nothing about these people. So
yeah.
I would like to interview them. I'd like to know more about them.
Okay. Councilwoman Jones?
In our last conversation concerning this committee, I thought they only needed 3 persons. So what are we going to do with the, it's like, I'm not sure if they have a alternate on committees. Because I know when I did the election board, there was no alternates. We had to do what the charter said. So do we need 3 persons or do we need 4?
Only 3, but I submitted the 4 so that the council, which I originally thought would interview all 4, so they could have a wider pool to select from, okay. As opposed to having 3 and then have to search somebody else. Council, and then, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Sorry. And then speaking about committees, we also need persons for the ethics committee and persons for the election board. We need to let citizens know that so that if someone's interested, they can come forward and let us know so that we can get those committees also off the ground. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman Jones. Councilwoman Guillaume?
Sure. Thank you, Council President. I will say that filling the positions on the Glen Arden Housing Authority board is of paramount right now. So while I can understand the part about not interviewing for some, I'm not opposed to that either, but I do strongly feel that we should at least have a resume or something that we can at least review and actually make a sound decision upon who you'd want to move forward on the election board. Again, if timing is of the essence and we don't need to interview, I'm fine with that, but I would want to at least make sure that I read over. And I know some of those folks had provided something, or somebody provided something. I know I read something a few weeks or a month or so ago, but if I could at least have, again, speaking for myself, I don't want to take consensus or anything. I'm just saying, speaking for myself, I would strongly want to have something that talks about the person and see what their involvement is or what their skill sets are. That's just me. And I know people volunteer, I get that, but you also want to have certain skill sets to be able to, you know, critique or look, you know, on certain financials and documents and things of that nature. So just want to say that.
Okay. Councilman Jones, was that your hand again, or?
Yeah, I understand what Councilwoman Guillaume is saying about the persons, but when you're volunteering for a committee, I don't think, I mean, I'm not sure that somebody would volunteer for a committee that couldn't be able to grasp what the committee, what they're called to do. In the past, I'll just say in the past, when even when I was on the Glen Arden Housing Authority, they didn't ask me, you know, what I did or how I would, well, I could go back and say in 1969, when I was a summer help at the city of Glen Arden, I worked with Mary Godfrey when they brought on the Glen Arden Housing Authority. But still, in I think when I came to Glen Arden to live, and we had an issue over here with in Ward 3, that was one of the reasons why the Mayor Anderson stepped up and asked me if I would serve on the Glen Arden Housing Authority. But they didn't ask for any type of resume or skill set. They just wanted a volunteer. And when you're volunteering, if you're, you know, able to grasp what it is that needs to be done, I don't think that we have to choose somebody by their skill set or what they do for a living or what they've done. Thank you.
Okay. Councilman Hairston.
I'm gonna just be short and sweet. I was just gonna say that I think that we should at least have them submit something on their background or like a resume and do interviews. That's all I had to say.
Okay, thank you, Councilman Hairston. Councilman Guillaume.
Sure, I just want to make 2 points. One is we did also have another candidate, since if we're going to package all of the housing authority people. I know that Mayor Cross at one point had also submitted somebody. So if we need to package that with the additional folks that were listed, as I'm sorry, the 4 or 5 names, I'm sorry, that were listed, we can, I'm not opposed to that as well. So that's one thing. The other thing that I want to say is, well, 1 or 2 things is, Councilwoman Jones, you don't look like you were old enough to serve on on Housing Authority back in 1969, but no, that it's good to hear what you shared. I'm just going off of my experience, where there are things that people need to know that they're signing off on. And what my experience has been is a lot of folks don't know what they're signing off on. And it ends up, the responsibility or the onus ends up falling on other folks who are able to read financials and budget and versus variance reports. Like, there are certain things that you need to actually know what you're signing, because the housing authority is one of the prized, entities at Glen Arden. I believe it was a few years ago where it was a huge uproar because some people didn't know what they were signing, or didn't know what they, or knew what, so excuse me, they didn't know what they were signing, and it almost went to Prince George's County. The housing authority almost went to Prince George's County, and it was an uproar for it to stay in the city. At the same time, there are also a lot of decisions that need to be made. They're doing a lot of hard, difficult things right now. And a lot of these things pertain to reading contracts for HUD. And I understand volunteering for things that's like a calling, right? Where it's not necessarily, you don't necessarily need a skill set for something that you're passionate about per se. But when it comes to certain things where you have to be responsible for hundreds of individuals who live in 60 units who are of low to no income, you need to somewhat know what it means to sign off something with HUD and what type of transferring of property you're signing up for. So it's a lot of things. I don't want to speak for the Housing Authority, but I do know that they're doing a lot of things right now, that just having someone who just wants to volunteer, which I will never say, you know, people shouldn't volunteer, but just having someone who wants to volunteer and then they don't know what they're really signing off on is something that I would probably be concerned about. That's just me. So, but I respect your decision. And FYI, it was a compliment when I said you didn't look like you volunteered back in 1969. So, okay.
Council President, it wasn't that I was a volunteer. I was it was a summer job, and they placed me with Mary Godfrey, who was the director of that public housing. And at that time, it was just being built, and we had to displace the people that were on the property and then bring back the people and look at, she gave me the job of looking at the applications to see who we would bring back first. And I did that as a summer job for the city of Glen Arden. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman Jones. And Mayor Crossthaw, I see your hand up. I'm reserving this section for council to work through the current legislation. And that is the reason I'm not going to call on you so we can move forward. Next up is, I'm sorry, just to go back on that. So in reference to the individual that was submitted by Mayor Cross, that individual actually did come. The resume did come. The council did vote, took a consent, not vote, I'm sorry. We did not vote. We took a consensus of whether we wanted to move forward with that individual, and the consensus was no. So with that.
Point of clarification, Council President, I agree with you. I was just more so saying when I believe I heard somebody said, you know, since the Housing Authority needed something, we only had these people. So I didn't want people to assume that we discounted other folks. So that's why I said that, but I agree with what you just stated.
All right. So we'll reach out to necessary individuals to gather those resumes, and that can be disseminated amongst the council members. Okay. Next up is a resolution to establish a charter review process. Councilwoman Fareed.
Yes, thank you. So this resolution is really just a continuation of the discussion that we started to have with Ms. Ruff and our attorney's recommendation that we kind of set forth a process for how we will go about the review of the charter. This doesn't change, just for clarification, the Charter Review Committee. This again is just saying that how we're going to go about doing that activity. So I don't know, do you want to pull it up?
Sure.
Clerk? I think it would be helpful because it's kind of some bullet points.
I'll pull it up, Council.
Okay.
Okay.
So basically, we're saying, you know, we have the responsibility for the charter and we want to make sure that it's reflective of the current laws and supports the needs of the city residents and the officials. And then balancing that, making sure that when we're reviewing it, it's done in as objective a way as possible. Sorry, can you scroll down? Right, you know, it talks about the seriousness of the charter review process. And so this is kind of lending some of the language as to why we're suggesting that it be done publicly. So one, the suggestion is that the charter be reviewed at the end of each annual session to ensure that all legislation enacted in that session has been incorporated. And basically that's, you know, over the summer, when we're in recess, just the council clerk making sure that all of the resolutions that we have passed are properly reflected. I know it's been a challenge since since I've been on council, where we look at things and then we're not sure if they were submitted or, where they were. So if we can start making this a practice on an annual basis, we won't get behind and then, kind of be in situations where we're not exactly sure if the language is reflected appropriately. Then the next is that the charter will undergo a comprehensive review every 10 years, starting with this July. And this is similar to what's done at the county level. The county council is actually reviewing the county charter as well. Now, this doesn't necessarily mean that there will be changes, but this is just kind of a comprehensive review, and it should be looked at as a checkup because, the council at that time may go through the charter and say, this looks good, we don't need to make any changes, and, the review is done. Then the next is that the schedule of when the charter review will be meeting. And in that schedule, it'll have like what we're going to do. Are we going to cover sections 1 through 3 and then, on this date and that date, so we can kind of keep to a schedule, and so the citizens can know when we're going to be reviewing what, and so they can plan accordingly to participate. And the idea is that the charter would be reviewed in a 6-month process, a 6-month cycle. And the next page, please. The Charter Review Committee, consisting of 3 council members, which right now is Councilman Herring, Council Vice President Ferguson, and myself, will be responsible for creating that schedule and facilitating the review process. The deliberations will take place in a 2-hour public meeting, so a separate meeting apart from the work session and regular meeting, which is really not different than what we've done, except that this meeting will be public. And we're saying that in this meeting, the other council members, the mayor and the city manager, are at their discretion to attend. So in other words, it's not a mandatory meeting for everyone to attend. It could just be the 3 of us and we would meet, but given its public nature, certainly the rest of the council members could be there, as well as the mayor and the city manager. And then point 8 is around having an attorney present. This just helps expedite the process so that as we're reviewing and as we're discussing, we can get the understanding from a legal perspective if there's anything that we need to be considering, real time as we're discussing, as opposed to kind of discussing privately, coming to the council in a work session, and then needing to discuss with the attorney separately. So this will help expedite so that it can get done in 6 months. And then after each meeting, the Charter Review Committee will be, preparing any amendments, if there are any that have been deemed necessary based upon that review. And so here's just kind of laying out the process that the charter amendment would be provided at the next work session. And then discussion would be held at the public hearing. So we would discuss it at the work session again, right? Because again, we would be discussing it in the review meeting itself, presuming that the council is in attendance. And then at the work session, we would discuss it again, and then we would have the public hearing to receive the public's comments on it. And then we would vote on it at the regular meeting following that. So that will kind of be the process. Obviously, if there's something that needs to be worked through, we wouldn't just keep on pushing on. We would bring it through the next round of work sessions. And then point 11 is just language from the charter amendment from the annotated code of Maryland of what it requires. And I just specified the location for like where we posted at. The annotated code doesn't say that it needs to be in the vestibule outside of the administrative offices, but that's currently where we are posting them. So I put that there. If there are any other locations, let's put that here as well. And then again, 12 is again from the annotated code. And then 13 is saying that we would start the process in July. We have an offer of a discounted rate from Miss Karen Ruff and her company of $200 per hour for a total of 30 hours. So it would be 2 hours for the review meeting and then an additional 3 hours should we need it, but it would be a maximum of 5 hours per month for 30 hours. And we could use ARPA funds for that. So it would basically be $6,000 to review. And yeah, that would be how we would start this first process. Any questions?
Yes, Mr. President.
Councilman Harry?
Yeah, question. I know on line 29, it says now therefore be it resolved by the mayor. That needs to come out. Should say by the city council on the legislation on line 29 on page 1. But on item number 13, how did you select this person?
Through recommendation of our attorney, Mr. Kopinski. He was the one who brought her up because I was really asking him to kind of serve in that capacity. And he was saying that he felt he knew someone who had experience with that and would be better equipped to do that. And so that was the recommendation. Certainly if you think we should, solicit proposals from other attorneys, we can. But again, she came with his recommendation. So I thought that we could go with her, knowing that the charter also doesn't require that we triple bid these professional services. But if you have a different suggestion, I'm happy to.
I'll shoot your email. I'll shoot your email on that, and I'll shoot it to the council because we've used Funk and Bolton before, but I'll shoot your email. I don't want to say it in a public meeting. All right.
Great. Thank you.
Sure.
One other thing that the reason why I thought Miss Ruff would be good is because she has connections at MML that can really help us with this as well. So I know that we had kind of been talking about getting MML in to talk about kind of the forms of government and what we might need to clarify or, make clear, just straighten up for clarification on who's responsible for what from the administration versus the legislative branch. And so I thought that could be helpful for us as well, just in expediting the process since we're trying to start in July.
Councilwoman Jones.
Under number 13 again, it says it will be advised by Karen P. Ruff Esquire and Levan Ruff LLC. I don't see Funk and Bolton on here. Unless that's Miss Levan, that she used to work for Funk and Bolton. I think her and Miss Ruff have started their own
Yes,
office.
they have.
Okay.
They have.
Yeah.
And so this would just be Miss Karen Ruff. It wouldn't be Miss Levan.
Levan she wouldn't be, it would only be Miss Ruff. Okay.
Right.
Okay.
Any other questions before I take the resolution down? Okay. Next up is a resolution to promote financial literacy amongst residents of Glen Arden. Councilwoman Fareed.
Yes, thank you. Can you bring that one up as well?
Yep, sure will. Oh, sorry. I guess I should go to it, huh?
And while you're pulling that up, just for clarification, when we write resolutions, when should it say mayor and city, and when should it just say, I'm sorry, mayor and council? And when should it just say council?
It should never say mayor.
Okay. Okay. I had that in there because I used a previous resolution. But no, that's good. So I know it should never say there.
So with that, I'm sorry. Go ahead. I'll go back to it. Go ahead, Councilwoman Fareed.
Thank you. So I'm not going to read all the whereases, but basically these are, some stats showing that, financial literacy is important for our community. This kind of goes along with what's being done at the school level, where now it's going to be part of the curriculum and mandatory for graduation from high school, for middle school and high school students to take financial literacy courses. And this is really just addressing our commitment to our citizens to assist them with becoming more financially literate. And so there's kind of a group that's missing, right? People who are not in middle school and high school who still need to be addressed, particularly, young families, young adults, and our seniors. So can we scroll down? That's basically what all the whereases are saying. So here, the city of Glen Arden will emphasize the importance of raising the awareness of individual financial capability by providing relevant information, financial workshops, and other decision-making tools to residents of all ages. And the city of Glen Arden will partner with reputable organizations such as Zoe and Xander's Guide to Success to deliver workshops and courses for residents of all ages. And I did attach a proposal from Zoe and Xander's. Okay. Yeah, it's at the back. Can we go back up to the rest? And then here, residents receiving individual grants from the city of Glen Arden will be required to complete a designated financial literacy course. So this is basically like if we're going to provide assistance to people, this is an opportunity to make sure that they're provided with financial literacy, so that the funds that we're giving them, they can understand how to best use them. And that's basically the resolution. So did you want to go down to the proposal?
If you want to go through it, I don't have to if you don't want to.
Okay, let me just pause there, see if there are any questions.
Councilwoman Jones.
Okay, so as far as the, I think junior high and high school children, Junior Achievement has partnered with Prince George's County Schools, and they have a facility over by the FedEx Field off of that that takes them through the whole financial literacy gamut of getting credit, going to a store, getting an apartment, doing, buying a car. And they have these different little booths in this facility that shows them and teaches them how to do that. And then they have different people come in and give them that the educational financial literacy that they need. And I think it's required for them, if I'm not mistaken, that they take that course and complete it. So you're tailoring this to people, young people that may have not been able to benefit from this. And you're saying seniors?
Yes, so it speaks in the whereases, it speaks to seniors, and some of the statistics that seniors are really living longer, which is great, but they're also outliving their savings, what they plan for. And a lot of them are living on fixed incomes. And, it's really a challenge with inflation and all the other financial implications that are happening right now with different financial instruments, and making sure that they're aware of them and savvy. There's a lot of scams happening now. So just making sure that we're providing all that education. You are right. And that's an excellent program that Junior Achievement has. And it's not available to all middle school and high school students, because if you don't go to a public school, though, that's not mandatory for you. But again, this is not, this is broader. It's really trying to reach our full community, you know, young adults who are trying to save up money to buy their first home, you know, who still might be living at home. In this program, Zoe and Xander's, they teach even from as young as 4 years old up to seniors. So that's why I like the offering that they had. I did take my daughter to it. And I have a lot of friends who have let their children go through the programs, the 12-week programs, and they've had lots of great things to say about it. So, I mean, I think it's a cost-effective option, but it's, you know, also able to reach our full population of residents, all the demographics.
Okay, but still we can't, I don't think we can just target one person and say, this is who, you know, we have to be on a broader, to offer other organizations or companies that offer the same thing to give a choice. We just can't.
Yeah, which is why the language says such as, organizations such as Zoe and Xander's. It's not, you know, we don't have to go with them. I'm just giving, you know, a proposal.
Okay, all right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any questions? Okay. Next up, we have escape from my screen. Oh, I'm sorry. Before we move forward, Madam Clerk, can we please give resolution numbers to the past two that we just did? A resolution to establish a charter review process and a resolution to promote financial literacy among residents.
Yes, sir. So a resolution to establish a charter review process has been issued, resolution number R34, 2022. And a resolution to promote financial literacy amongst the residents of Glen Arden has been issued, resolution number R35, 2022.
Okay. And for the rest of council's awareness, that we'll give the resolution numbers for the candidates, the appointees for Glen Arden Housing Authority. Once we have more information, it becomes more, you know, solid. All right, two more. A resolution to establish stormwater management rebate program.
So can we bring that up?
Yep, sure can. Second, let me pull it up. Oh, sorry. Yeah.
So the purpose of this program is to help our residents manage storm water management is getting late, sorry, to manage stormwater. And what that is when you're in more urban areas that have concrete, you're not going to have water that soaks into the ground. And so you really want to have you know, trees and flowers and things like that that have kind of roots that will soak up water. And I think, you know, Mr. Herring has raised this point as to, you know, in areas where our vegetation has been cut down and the impact of that. And, you know, the challenge with flooding in the state of Maryland in particular, we have to manage our stormwater because of where it actually ends up. It ends up in the Chesapeake Bay, which is the largest inland estuary in the United States. And in order to help protect the environment, we need to do more. The county has a program called the Raincheck Rebate Program, where residents are allowed to take up to $6,000 through the life of their home to make improvements to their land, which is also a way to beautify their properties by planting native trees, native flowers, permeable pavement, so like patios, things that can improve their land, but also help manage the stormwater. And the program that the county has recently increased to $6,000. Previously, it was $4,000. And the reality is that work now is more expensive. Anyone who's tried to get any yard work or anything done in their home over the last couple of years knows that the prices are much higher than they were before. So the intent of this is to be a supplement to the county's rebate program, so that residents who are interested could do that $6,000 and then also do the additional $2,000 that is being proposed here in the legislation. So what I'm suggesting is that we take a portion of the American Rescue Plan Act and just designate it as the grant, and then residents would need to apply for that grant, and it's on a first come first served basis until the $200,000 is exhausted. The $2,000 here, again, we're saying it can't be reimbursed under other similar programs, so they can't, make $2,000 worth of improvements and then get reimbursed from the county and then also get reimbursed from the city. I have reached out to the county with the idea. They love the idea. And I'm just trying to make sure that it's that we have a way to check and make sure that there's kind of no double dipping, and also to make sure that this program would not preclude residents from applying to the Raincheck rebate program. Bowie has a rebate program, and so on the county's application, it says, this is not applicable for Bowie residents, and Chevrolet has a rebate program for trees, so you can't get reimbursed for the trees. So I'm tired of talking. I'll just pause right there and see if anybody has questions.
Yes, Mr. President.
Councilman Herring.
So you're saying that if they get the $2,000 from us, that's $2,000 less that they can get from the county?
No, it would be in addition to. So really, if they could spend up to $8,000. So the $6,000 from the county and then the $2,000 for us. If they go to us first and get $2,000, then they just can't submit those same receipts. They can't do that same work and apply for the county to do it. So when you apply for the county, you have to provide a design plan. You have to show them what you're going to do, and then they have to approve that. So they can't submit that same design plan to the city of Glen Arden to get the $2,000. So no double dipping.
So I guess, so we're going to have criteria that's going to outline what they can't do. I guess we have to explain it to them that if you apply for the county, you can't apply for the city for the same thing.
Right, it's for the same thing. So I tried to word it that way, but I always look to you all to help me clarify the wording. That is what point 3 is saying, that you can't get reimbursed for any cost that you got reimbursed for elsewhere. Okay. So like, as an example, I have the counties, right? The county has a limit. So the county has a limit for the permeable pavement. So well, I don't know what the new limit is, but it was $2,400. So as an example, let's say that your permeable pavement patio was $5,000. You got $2,400 from the county, but you still have a deficit of $2,600. So you could get that deficit filled by the grant with Glen Arden.
Up to $2,000.
Right.
Okay, so you can get you can get reimbursed for the same services as the county as long as it don't exceed the original project.
Right, like if your project was only $2,000, you can't go to the county and get reimbursed for that 2,000 and then submit those same receipts to Glen Arden and get $2,000 for the same thing. So that in total, you receive $4,000 for your $2,000 project.
Now, does the county, I mean, does the state also offer any type of rebate program?
Not that I know of.
Okay, all right, thanks.
You're welcome. And then on the next page, it just kind of details what the qualifying work would be. And the fact that it has to be approved. So you can't go do the work and then try to get reimbursed for it later, similar to what the city manager was describing about the grant for the playground. You have to get approved for this first and then do the work and then get reimbursed.
Mr. President?
Councilman Herring?
Yeah, so who's gonna oversee this program that's gonna approve all of this stuff? Is that?
So I know that we have not yet made the decision on who's going to be like the ARPA administrator. My thinking was that would be that person. So I'm trying to keep it in this period of when we would have that person. But yeah, that's a great question.
All right, thank you.
All right. Any other questions before we move on?
No, but is there anybody who would like to sponsor this with me?
I'll sponsor it with you.
Okay.
I will as well.
Okay.
Madam Clerk, could you please provide a resolution number?
Resolution to establish a stormwater management rebate program has been issued, resolution number R36, 2022.
And the last one up is a resolution to accepting the proposal of standard striping ink for pavement markings. This is sponsored at the request of the administration. But Councilwoman Jones, I know you had some questions regarding it, so I'll open the floor to you. Yeah, you're on mute.
I'm not understanding why we're doing striping when, like I said, in Ward 3, we have a Ward 3 street project that's been ongoing. City Manager Barbara, where are we with the RFPs for getting somebody to come in and to get started on that project again?
So we had reached out to the county to try and get the information from NZI, and we have been unable to get that information. I even reached out to Ms. Denise Ross to try and get me in touch with the person from procurement. I am still working that avenue. So there has not been an RFP that has been issued for this. We would have to put together a new RFP for this to solicit bids for that information. So that is the next step, since we can't get in touch with the county, and that has pretty much been exhausted at this point. So that's where we are for this, but this striping is exclusively for Glen Arden Parkway.
But like I said, Glen Arden Parkway in Ward 3 needs to be repaved before you put striping down. And then if you put striping down, when they come in to repave it, they're going to take all that striping up. So why would we spend, that's just throwing money away. The last conversation that we had about this, you told me in an email that you were going to put out RFPs because you could not get, you had not been able to reach the person that Mr. George used for this. And that was almost 2 months ago.
Yes, ma'am. I have been working on other RFPs. I apologize. I have not been able to get to that one. My time has been taken up with a number of personnel matters and other RFPs. I will endeavor to get on that right away.
Does that also with the DIAS? Are we having the same issue with the DIAS?
Yes, ma'am, we are. I've not been able to reach out to the county, but the RFP for the architectural and engineering staff is out so that the architect could be hired to design the DIAS for the council, and then we could do the RFP for the contractor, whether that would be Mr. Romano, I believe is his name, Lucian Romano, to bid on the project. That would have to be a separate RFP.
Yeah, I think this resolution should be tabled because we're not ready to do any striping. It's in Ward 3. I would have to look at Ward. Well, they just did what was like 2 years ago when they did when WSSC came in and repaved Ward 2 after they had, Ward 1 after they had done some work over there. But thank you.
Any other questions related to this legislation? Okay. So I'm sorry, I do have one question. So was this just for Ward 3 or was the striping for other areas?
No, it was for other areas as well.
So can we move forward with the striping for the other areas and complete the striping for Ward 3 once the pavement is completed?
It would change the scope of the work.
Okay. All right. Thank you. All right, with that, that is all the legislation that we have on the docket for work session tonight. Being consistent with what we've established in our work session, that all of the administrative reports are read aheads, and so the administration doesn't do a presentation twice because they're going to present next meeting. This is the opportunity for the council to ask questions on the administrative reports that had an opportunity to read ahead on. Are there any questions? Councilwoman Fareed.
Thank you. So I do have a question for the mayor on the transition of the streets at Wilmore Town Center. I know that's still, slow going with the county. And I know that's no fault of our own, but I'm wondering if the county would, if they could kind of allow us to move forward as though we have the streets, because we have the traffic issues, the speeding issues. There are a number of things that we could be doing, putting the speed bumps down, but we would be prevented from doing that. And my concern is that we have ARPA funds that are available that we can do some of these things with, but if we have to wait until the streets are fully and formally conveyed, we may be past the point to use that money. So I'm wondering if we could just kind of look into that and see what could be done so that we could take care of Glen Arden Parkway fully.
Thank you, Councilwoman Fareed. We can look into that. Just for record, this DPI actually does have a permit for DR Horton, and it is extended until the 7th of January of 2023. Right. So that would give us at least about 2 years almost that we would have still an ability to use the ARPA funds. So you wouldn't actually run out of time. So this time, well, January next year, that permit will end. What you don't want to do right now is transition away from DR Horton, because as of right now, there's several of bibs. There's several sidewalks that have sustained some severe weathering, and that was due to improper compound mixing. And there's also several other remaining contractual issues that have been identified by the chief inspector for Woodmore Town Center from DPI that we really want them to handle before that's transitioned over to the residents, because otherwise we would be having to take care of it. The man drains, for example, are supposed to have concrete up to where the roughing is or the metal pieces is. And in many places, if you look in the man drain, it wasn't properly done. And essentially what it's going to do is waste away and give in. So there are some safety issues that DPI is currently working with DR Horton. It's on the recommendation that we allow them to do what they have to do at this point to get DR Horton in compliance with what the contractual agreements were prior to us transitioning.
No, and I understand that. I think it was Councilman Herring. So maybe I misunderstood comments before Councilman Herring, but I thought that there was a potential that when we don't use all grant money and it's just sitting there, that they could call it back.
I believe we'll have enough time to use it, Councilwoman. Honestly, as I talked to the chief inspector, the issues that are there are serious issues, and they would be more costly for our residents if we transition at this time. But we can follow up to see if we can push it along. I do know the chief inspector gave DR Horton 3 months window to get things done. So that pushes us into the summer. So as August comes, then we should be able to start looking at really talking about the transition. And that's pending that DR Horton does what is required from the chief inspector.
Okay, thank you. And maybe we can look at some other traffic safety mitigation. It's not like permanent, like speed bumps, maybe some stop signs, things like that, that we can still do in the meantime, even though the streets haven't been turned over. Okay, that was one question. My other question was around the signage around the city, advertising for the meetings. When or what do we need to do in order to get something that's not a handwritten time or a handwritten virtual in the sandwich boards?
So as I understand, Councilwoman Fareed, there's actually been budget allocated for the purchasing of new signs. So it's just a matter of them coming in. That's the last that I was made aware. We're just waiting for those to be purchased and come in. I think it was a sum total of about 12,000. So that has been taken care of, I believe, from the Public Works budget.
Okay, but you don't have an estimate on when they're going to come in?
No, we can follow up to see when they're actually coming in. I know that has already been purchased. We just follow up and return a response back to you on when the expected arrival time will be.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so I think I'll just go next since my hand is up. My question was for.
I'm sorry. I thought I was off of mute. I did say your name, but go ahead.
All right. My question is for Chief Bryant.
Okay. How you doing?
Good evening, sir. How are you?
I'm well.
Councilwoman Jones, welcome to the city of Glen Arden.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Thank you. I'm not sure if the council's had this discussion, but it's been a discussion once before pertaining to code enforcement, that code enforcement should be under the police department. Has anyone mentioned that to your?
We talked about it briefly, no details. I agree from the conversations I had that code enforcement should be under the police department as it is in most police departments, most agencies. But I didn't have any formal discussions about it. It was just mentioned and talking with my staff.
Okay, so you have no issue with code enforcement being under your jurisdiction because of the fact, I asked that because when they need assistance in certain things, they might have to come to the police, such as having vehicles towed or, and then that's the other question. With parking violations and vehicle issues, the Glen Arden police are going to be just as aggressive in that as the code enforcement. Am I correct?
I totally agree with you, and you are correct. And I look forward to see what's the next step in reference to that.
Okay, and then I have one complaint that I had from a citizen at 704 and Glen Arden Parkway, 8100 Glen Arden, I'm sorry, 8100 Martin Luther King is the tobacco store. They have put out some tall signs, and some of the seniors and some of the residents are saying that when they go to make a right turn on red, that they're having a trouble seeing, because at Glen Arden, if you've sat on Glen Arden Parkway, you'll know that the traffic is just, they speed. It's just like in the afternoon during rush hour, it's speeding, and then at other times it's speeding. So when you inch your car out to make that right turn on red to go towards the Horse and Dickies, it's kind of hard to see the cars coming with those tall signs out. I'm not sure if we can ask them to push them back. I know that there's wording in the charter that says something about putting up signs. I know you can't put signs on telephone poles and stop signs and stuff like that, but I'm not sure if those signs are also included in that code thing. But they're having a hard time seeing, around those signs and coming out. And we also, last year, we also had that issue at the 7-Eleven because there was a bush, but then Public Works went out and they trimmed that bush back so that people would be able to see the cars coming in order to make a right-hand turn on red.
Okay.
So, can we have your department look and see? I went up there and looked at it and tried to inch out. I thought, okay, no, I'm not having the same problem. But the closer I got to the curb to come out, those signs were hindering my vision to be able to make a judgment call as to whether I should go out in the traffic or not. So.
Okay. Yeah, that's something we can look into. We'll most definitely look into it tomorrow morning and find out what's going on. And I'll send out email to you guys and let y'all know the results of it and try to rectify that problem.
All right, sir. Thank you for your assistance.
Yes, ma'am.
Are there any other?
Yes, Mr. President.
Councilman Harry?
Yes, I have a question. Bring this up because I've been dealing with this for the last couple of weeks, and it's the church down in the nutrition center. Why is it still down there? I'm asking the city manager, and I'm assuming the government coordinator's not on the line. I don't know if she is or she isn't. Why is it still down in the nutrition center?
I can answer that because the city manager for this Sunday did not have anything to do with that. Again, I spoke with Mr. Brown and told him that the city council need to come together to discuss what's next. Actually, as it relates to that, I was looking to speak in a closed session because some of the things is personal and private in nature, which I do believe under Charter Section 304, to protect the privacy and reputation of individuals with respect to a matter that is not related to public business, that we have the authority to talk about and discuss that in a closed session. And it's also related to personnel. So that's why in the email to alert council that we'll be going into closed session, I stated that this will be discussed in closed session.
This is not a closed session topic.
I just gave
Mr. President, I don't care what you just gave me. I'm just telling you, we are not to discuss this church. Now, if we're talking about individual people or the people that's in the positions, that's different. But to just talk about the circumstances of the contract and all of that, that is for public discussion. Now, and if we're going to go into talk about detail of what somebody is not doing, or we taking, and it says under the closed meeting, if you're going to take disciplinary action, promotion, and stuff like that, you can discuss that in closed session. Everything that we're discussing is a contract. It's what has been done. It's the rules are the same. We're not changing the contract. I mean, it is what it is. That's not closed meeting topics. Now, my thing is things are being done, and I don't think it's right to be sweeping this under the rug or trying to hide it behind a closed meeting, because that's what's happening here. Because they are not. That is not closed meeting topic. If I ask why is the church down there, that should be answered publicly. If I ask who sent the church down there, that should be answered publicly. If I ask who did something to a contract, that should be answered publicly. This is the citizens' tax dollars, not ours. You know, I'm not trying, we shouldn't be sitting here trying to protect or somebody's feelings or whatever it is. My thing is, you're in a position, you're grown folks, you make the decisions, take the hit from the criticism or whatever comes your way. That is not a closed meeting topic. And I don't think it's right to be going into closed meeting to discuss something that I guess people just don't want other people to know what's going on. That's what it seems like to me.
So respectfully, Councilman Herring, that's incorrect. No one's trying to hide anything. I know from what you stated, you've talked to Mr. Brown. I know I've talked to Mr. Brown. I think this is interrelated with decisions that were made where it was highlighted that someone broke the law and violated some things. I know litigation has come up. So that is, in my opinion, private. I respect that you have a different opinion. But as council president, I'm going to discuss what I want to disclose to the council in a private closed session. I'm not going to vote on anything. I'm not going to propose that we vote on anything. I've said that related to personnel and section 304B sub 2, that I think that we could talk about it in the closed session.
Well, it isn't related to personnel. I know
that's fine. Yeah, I respect your opinion, but I don't want to keep on going back and forth.
But I'm just saying that I'm saying this because this is getting out of hand. You can't keep on running into closed session and hide things from the citizens. Now,
nobody's point of order. No one is hiding things from the citizens.
If a complaint has to go to the compliance board, and then maybe we can let them make a decision on what's going on. Because again, that is not close. Where the church, my thing is, you know what's really getting me is people making decisions and then they want to hide behind a closed meeting. My thing is this: what I'm going to say publicly, and I'm going to tell you this too. What I've done before in the past, you can say whatever you want in the closed meeting, and I'll come out and say it in a public meeting. Okay. And I'm like, what you going to do? You know, because my thing is this: citizens have a right to know what's going on in this city. The church members have a right to know what's going on in this. Now, statements have been made. You know, a prime example: a statement has been made to Mr. Brown where it was said to him, well, can you afford to go up? Can you afford to use the gold run? It'll cost you $1,500. Now, why would somebody tell him that when the rules quite clearly state out what the rate is for the time for church services? That is another way to intimidate and scare the church into not want to go back upstairs. That is not true. That is not factual. The rules are quite clear. The rates are quite clear on what church services charge. So for him to be told that is just another way, I feel, of intimidation to get them to stay down there. And I'm not understanding what it is against this church, that the people are sitting here pushing them down there when for the last 3 Sundays, nobody's been in there. We haven't had one event in there. And looking at this report, okay, where all the money are we supposed to be bringing in? $4,000 over for 4 events. That's $500 an event, or what? $800 an event. Now, where's the thousands and thousands of dollars that we're supposed to be getting from this gold run for Sundays? You see, that's what I'm having a problem with, because again, the rules are the rules. If you want to change them, fine, change them, if that's what you want to do. But you need to adhere to the rules. The rules are quite clear, and so the church should be up in that gold run at the rate that they've been paying, like the rules state. And if you want to go and change the rules because you want them out of there because you'd rather make a quick buck, you know, and throw the church downstairs, fine, do it, you know, but at least adhere to the rules that are in place right now. And please stop intimidating the church members with all of these things about $1,500 for this or and all kinds of things like that. Or coming to them at the last minute with a contract saying, okay, you got to sign this contract. And what are they going to do? They're going to sign a contract because they don't think they have anywhere else to go. Where are they going to worship at on Sunday if you come to them with a contract 4 days before the church service, 5 days before a church service? You know, then they're being told that they may be responsible for money they have to pay back money because they're responsible for the deficit in the gold run. They're not responsible for any deficit in the gold run. See, this is the kind of stuff that y'all want to discuss in closed meeting, but I'm going to put it out here in an open meeting because that's where it needs to be discussed. So I'm just saying, again, I asked the question, and I would like to know again, I would like to see the legislation or the formal vote on when it was decided that the nutrition center is going to be a rental space, when it was decided that the church would be moved downstairs, and under whose authority. And when it was approved that that contract was modified to put nutrition center on there and charge them and to modify it to say nutrition center on it when it's a gold room contract. I'm asking all of these questions, and I'm asking, I'd like to get an answer on who authorized it, what council members authorized it, because I know I didn't. I know I wasn't part of any vote that authorized any changes. So I'm just asking these questions because I like to know. And inform a council person, I just want to be informed about what's going on in his city. The things are going down, and I don't know what's going on. I'm just seeing things going on. I see what the rules say, but rules are being violated. So, all right.
Okay, so Councilman Herring, certainly it will help if you did not cast accusations. I've never hid anything from the council. I've never taken this position to lord it over. Councilman Herring, please, I'll let you have your 5 to 10 minutes, however you spoke. I respected your space to speak. Please respect mine. I've never hidden anything from this council. In fact, I do not have the power to act alone as council president. The intent of going into closed session is to discuss what I've spoken to with Mr. Brown that can be sensitive in nature. That does tie into personal actions. I've never said that it cannot become public. If in closed session, the council deems this to be something that should be brought to the public, then it can be brought to the public. But before I say that, because it relates to some closed meeting items, I wanted to discuss it with the council in closed session first. And then if council members wants to bring things that are deemed should be deemed for the open session, then we can bring it back to the open session. But I wanted the council members to weigh in. My interpretation, I respect your interpretation of what you think. I have my interpretation, and then together we can decide what should be in open, what should be in a closed, and move the open to the open. That is all that I'm saying. And it's helpful if you would reach out to a council member if you clearly it sounds like you know who a council member is, but it helps for one, for the peace and for us to go along if you did not just jump to accusations and just simply, I don't think anybody on this council has been apprehensive to you. I've answered any question you have. I'm pretty sure any other council member who you may be referencing will answer any questions, but I just hope that we could, work in a professional manner together as opposed to trying to accuse and make these, outlandish accusations. Councilwoman Fareed.
Thank you. I was just going to suggest that we focus our efforts on actually putting some rules in place and clarifying that whatever the rules are, this has come up several times in several different circumstances. And I just don't think that it's going to be worth our energy to keep kind of going back and forth about who did what and why they did it. It's just more productive, in my opinion, for us to just focus on the go forward. That whatever the rules are today, we do need to adhere to those, and then we can make the adjustments. I'm happy to help with that and moving that along. Having had a lot of kind of professional experience and looking at policies and things like that. So we can draft up just very simply what the different spaces in the municipal building are and what can they be used for, who needs to approve, etc. Like, let's just do that so that we don't keep having these conversations. And I'm suggesting that for the entirety of the municipal center, the parking lot, the nutritional center, the gold room, whatever other spaces, just so that it's clear, because these shouldn't be evaluated each time they come up, in my opinion. So I'm hoping we could just kind of move on to the next item now.
Councilwoman Fareed, Councilwoman Jones.
I agree with Councilwoman Fareed as far as let's put something in place, but that's what we hired Ms. Robinson to do, and that's what she's trying to put in place by looking at the structure that she's been given, and along with the city manager. They're coming up with, supposedly they're developing a restructuring of the rules. I mean, the rules that were written back in 2012. And looking at the persons that were on that signed the resolution for the gold room, probably back then didn't, maybe I shouldn't say this, but I am, but may not have the background in event planning, not event planning, but event venues to have events. And some of the rules that they put in place were tailored for back then. So now here we are in 2022, laws have changed. How you rent out venues has changed. The monies that you get for venues and who's in venues has changed. So let's give the opportunity to Ms. Robinson to put together the restructuring of the gold room rules and the gold room prices. If this is going to be a enterprise venture, if you want to keep it an enterprise venture, which the council has already taken a consensus and said we want to keep it as an enterprise venture, and then let her do that. And then once she's put all these things together, because she has the background and the experience in this, then we can determine as a council what's going to work for the city and what's not after, and then it'll be presented in a public hearing so that the citizens can see what we're proposing to do with the gold room.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Thank you, Councilwoman Jones. And I'm sorry, go ahead, Councilman.
Let me just say this. I didn't mention anybody's name. That's the first thing. So I didn't mention anybody's name. Second thing is, everything what everybody said is fine and dandy. That's all well and good. But the rules in place are what stands now. And that's what it seems like everybody's forgetting. We have rules in place. We have regulations in place, and they need to be adhered to. So yeah, you can change the rules. I said, change the rules if you want to change it. Put in new rules and regulations if you want to do that. But in the meantime, you don't be unfair to the people that want to rent that room, because you think the rules are not fit for what you want to do with it, but the rules are what they are. So to sit there and just simply say, okay, I want to change them because I feel this isn't right. It isn't right. That isn't fair. When people come into the renting that room based on the rules and regulations that's laid before them, that's what they should get. And that's what I'm saying. And it shouldn't be anything other than that. Follow the rules that's in place. And when you want to change them, and then they have to adhere to what the new rules are. All right, thanks.
And for full transparency, and again, Mayor Cross, just to respect the council's ability to just do this working session, we're going to forego your comments so that we can move on with this meeting. For full transparency for the council, I have spoken with Mr. Brown. I spoke with him last week. And I've even worshiped with them this Sunday, which was not in intimidating way. We worshiped together. We sung songs. Elder Brown preached. I met with the parishioners after church, and it was a very pleasant interaction. And in fact, my son had a football game, and I missed church, so I worship. That's why I worshiped with them on Sunday, because I thought it'd be a good idea to come. One, you don't need to be at a certain church to worship, so I decided to worship with them on Sunday. And speaking with Elder Brown, there isn't a current contract in place. No one can find it. The contract that he mentioned was from 2017. And the way I read the laws, I think that the rules and regulations, it could be challenging for them to in my opinion, to rent the gold room, having to put a deposit down every time. And these are just the rules that I have. Again, we only have the rules that were provided to us when we got here, the city manager, Ms. Robinson, and even me. And it's very confusing because it doesn't give anything from Sunday during the time they have services. It says that it's an event space, the gold room, so that if you want to have an event for the religious services, I think it's at $100 an hour, but require a $250 security deposit. And so they will have to put down $250 every time they want to have a service. Nowhere in these Goat Room rules or regulations does it say that the city is landlords and they can rent out the Goat Room for a long period of time. It says it's an event space. And so what I discussed with Elder Brown, which I thought was, I mean, I don't think, there aren't any guidelines surrounding the nutrition center in my view. And they did not have a place to worship on Sunday. And I did not have the authority to send them to the Goat Room because that would have been in violation of the laws and regulations that I have. So because I could not put them in a Goat Room by myself, because it takes 4/7 of a vote from the council to be able to do that, I said, and I mentioned it, I believe I mentioned it to the council, hey, worship in a nutrition center, because there are no guidelines, regulating the nutrition center. So worship in a nutrition center for free on Sunday until the council can come up with what it is we're going to do. Because if Ms. Robinson follows this, what she's been given, then she has to get $250 security deposit from them each Sunday. And they have to pay per hour. I did not think it was fair to the church. And I think that if the nutrition center can accommodate them, which it looks like it can, and we could provide a clean space, then it would be my opinion that they should have it for free, to worship for free, because there aren't any current guidelines for the nutrition center. And it's my understanding that the only people who have talked to Mr. Brown have been Mr. Herring, you, and myself. So that's why I said the accusations are outlandish, because there's only one person you could be talking about, and that would have been me. And I've never intimidated the church. In fact, if you speak with him, I've said that in my opinion, I could not give him the nutrition center for free, but I think that he should have for free. And I will argue that he should have for free for the nutrition center, but that I had no power in myself as one council member to give him the Goat Room according to the laws. So that is full disclosure, full transparency, and the other stuff, which was private, I will, discuss with the council in private. So with that, I'd like to move on to vote to go into closed session based on.
Mr. President, we're not even finished with administrative reports, and I wasn't finished either.
I apologize. I thought the administrative reports were over. Do you have any other comments?
I do have one other comment, because I'm going to bring this up again, because Mr. President, that's what I'm talking about. Because first of all, you are not the only one that talked to Elder Brown, and I'm not the only one that talked to Elder Brown. There's other people who have talked to Elder Brown.
Okay.
That's it. You just told on yourself. I didn't mention your name.
I have to do something wrong to tell on myself. I have done nothing wrong.
But what you just said is absolutely not true. They do not have to pay the $250 every time. What they do is they pay the $250 one time, and they get that money back at the end of the month, and that $250 just recycles from month to month to month, because you get it back. You're supposed to get your deposit back. It's a deposit, and you get that deposit right back. And that's the way it works. And if they're not getting the deposit back because they're not recycling that back to them in a fast enough time, that deposit rolls forward from month to month to month. That's all they have to do, because you get your deposit back. So they're paying $100 an hour like they're supposed to pay, and they pay that $250 one time because they get it back every month. So it isn't like they're going to pay $800 plus $200 on top of that every month. No, they pay the $100, they pay the $250 deposit. You get that $250 deposit back, they apply it to the next month, and so forth and so forth and so forth. So that's not true what you just said, and that's what I'm talking about. That's exactly what I'm talking about. That was not true what you just said. So there are rules and regulations in that contract that allows the church to go up there to worship, and I'm not understanding why you keep on saying there's not. The rules and regulations says that they pay $100 an hour, and they pay a $250 deposit. All they have to do is pay it one time, because the city is required to give that money back to the renter within 30 days. And if we're not giving it back to them in 30 days, then we're at fault. So what you said wasn't true. It wasn't accurate. And that's what I'm talking about. See, you always want to give your opinion, but you need to really read those rules and regulations and see how it actually works. So you come here and you don't really know the history of what's going on in the city and how it's actually functioning with that Goat Room. And it really bothers me when people do that. Again, like I said before, this city is also, yes, a business, but it's also about compassion. Businesses all over this country gave away free food. They didn't sit there and nickel and dime it out. They gave away free food during COVID. Plenty of businesses give away free things to get back to the community. And that's what we do. Now, I'm not understanding what it is with this church that we can't, or the NA meeting and the AA meeting, that you want to push them out or push them downstairs because you want to make money, So I'm just saying again, what you just said wasn't true. They pay that $250 one time, and that $250 come back to them every month. At the end of the month, it should be coming right back to them for them to put it back onto the next month for their deposit. So I just wanted to get that cleared up.
Thank you, Councilman Herring. That's not what the rules and regulations say. And
Exactly what it says.
And currently they do not have a contract. So
They signed it. You took their check. That's the contract. We took their check, and you charged them the same thing for downstairs that they were paying upstairs, which is absolutely ridiculous. You took their check. You made it a contract. This city made it a contract when they took that check and they cashed it. They made a contract with that gold room when they cashed it, because that's the only thing they could be paying for, because the downstairs is not rentable.
well, to move on, we've heard your opinion. We've heard mine. Exactly. We've heard mine. It, like I said, takes four of 7. And I have read up on the history of Glen Arden. So
Well, I lived the history of Glen Arden.
good for you, Councilman Herring. Are there any other questions related to the administrative reports? Okay. Well, then there's one other thing we have to do, because the church does not have a contract. And so there has to be a decision made. That'll likely be in public. And so I read the rules and regulations as clear as it's written. And I interpret that you need to have a $250 deposit each time. I don't want to violate those rules, so I'm taking the consensus until these rules and regulations are, I don't know, made clear. I mean, I welcome any other council members to step in to give their point, but at this point, I'm going to recommend that they at least stay in the nutrition center until this is clear. And this is the rules and regulations of the gold room. So we have 2 options here. We can I'll do a consensus first to keep them for free in the nutrition center until we hash out the gold room rules and regulations. Actually, I'll just start with that. So that they can have a place to worship this coming Sunday. So with that, Council Clerk, could you please do a roll call? And the consensus is, since they do not have a contract, the church does not have a contract, that they continue to meet in the nutrition center for free until the council is able to correctly take up the council rules to before we go, Councilman Fareed.
Is it not possible for them to go back to the gold room, and then if someone books an event, move them to the nutritional center?
Yes.
So, I mean, if the council wants to do that, but we have always harped on following the rules and regulations.
Which you're not doing.
Councilman Herring, please.
I'm just trying to find a win-win here. I really feel like we're exhausting this.
I agree, but we either agree to hold up the rules and regulations or choose to violate them whenever we want to. We have to make a decision. Which one are we going to do?
If they're going to go back to the gold room, then they'll have to pay what's written in the resolution, because that's the law.
We don't have any, we cannot establish rules and regulations, then pick and choose which one we're going to abide by.
Right.
I understood that they would have to pay the $250 deposit. And since it's a deposit, they will get it back. And then the following Sunday, each time they use it, they can put that same $250 down. So,
if I was a company, if I came in and wanted to rent a room, just me, I want to rent a room, then I have to put my security deposit down and then pay whatever it is. So if I come back the next Sunday and want to do the same thing, then I have to put my deposit down and pay. Now, if nobody in the city can find a contract for this church, nobody can produce a contract, and the church cannot produce a contract, then the contract is as written in Resolution R-120, 2012, that houses of worship pay $250 security and $100 an hour if you're going to use the gold room.
so do they have how long is the service? 2 hours? That's $200. Or is the issue that they don't have the $200 to pay? Because again, the $250 is.
No, they've always paid their money. It's not that at all.
So then I guess I'm lost on what has changed, because if they are paying the $250 and that's a refundable deposit. So today is Sunday, they pay their $250, they plus the $200 fee. At the end of the event, they get their $250 back. The following Sunday, they put $250 down, pay their $200 fee, get the $250 back. So if that's what they're okay with doing, and that's what is in line with the resolution, then I don't see that we're violating anything. And then what we can do is say, okay, if it comes that there's an event that's going to bring in so much money or whatever on a Sunday, then we can say that we can, ask them if they would be comfortable with moving down to the nutritional center until we work out rules for what everything is. So in this way, we're not violating the contract. The church is not feeling like, they're getting shafted every week. And if there's an opportunity for us to bring in some revenue, right? Because it seems like we put them in a nutritional center, which I understand why, but we're putting them in the nutritional center and the gold room is empty. Nobody else, there's no event happening in the gold room.
Yeah, but we're opening. The only problem I think with the, you have to take in consideration when you're running a enterprise room is what you want to run. Then you have a church that has a very small congregation. You got lights running, you got everything, you still have to pay for the maintenance of the use of the room. You got employees, you got lights running, you got water running, all those things come out of this. And for $200, that's really, kind of small. So I'm thinking you got to think business. This is supposed to be a business. We agreed that we wanted it to be an enterprise place. That we
and I
want to
don't
make.
disagree with you. And I think that would be the reason why we would need to be expeditious about coming up with some rules and whatever we're going to do. So I'm not suggesting that this is into perpetuity, but just until we can get some.
So Councilman Freed, for clarity, this has never been about whether they have the ability to get a contract with the Gold Room. If they want a contract with the Gold Room, they can. They were only in there because there's no contract at all. So they can go to the Gold Room if they want to do that. No one is preventing them from doing that. No one is saying that, hey, I just don't want you in there. There isn't a contract. And because no one here had the authority, at least I didn't have the authority to put them in the Gold Room, then since there was no regulations on a nutrition center, I told them to go to Nutrition Center for free until the council can determine what it is in the rules, because Mr. Herring interprets it a different way, that they need to do a certain thing. So if they do want to contract in a Goat Room, they certainly can. But it is very difficult for Ms. Robinson and Ms. Barber to run that place the way we have hired them to run it, with council members going rogue and just jumping in and telling them to do this, do that, do this. And when they really should just follow the rules and regulations. And if they have issues with the rules or questions related to rules and regulations, they can ask the council. And to Ms. Jones' part, we're being completely unfair to the staff. We're telling our staff, here's $36 to come to the municipal center, which they have to pay public transportation to get there. And they have to pay public transportation to get back. So at the end of the day, that $36 is pretty much cut in half for coming in for this the 2 hours, because it's just, we have to look at all of that because it's unfair to them. And it just does not make sense overall. And that's where I wanted us to come together to just, which I thought we were on the same page, to just overhaul the rules and regulations. First stab at it by the Ms. Jessica, second stab at it by the council. But
Well, I am in agreement with that. I don't see why we have to make changes in the midst of that. If they've been in the goal room, but it's 10 o'clock. We've been talking about this for a very long time, and I'll yield. I have no more comments on this matter.
Councilwoman Ferguson.
You saying that they're supposed to pay $250 per week or $250 per month?
The way I read it is $250 per event. And that's if there's not another event that somebody wanted for that space and on a particular Sunday. So it's $250 per event, because I didn't read it to say that we have the authority to lease it out as if though we're landlords. It's an event space.
Okay.
Deposit.
So the nutritional center, again, you were saying that there's no, I mean, it's not for rent. So how many weeks have that church paid to have church there?
I agree. And I also—
How many times, how many?
I do not know, but I did—
Give them their money back, because that's illegal too. And my thing is, I think that, okay, if we're working on, I understand all of this, you know, what Ms. Jones is saying, what you're saying, trying to change over to different rules and regulations, but these people have been here for such a time as they've been, and they should remain there. And I agree with Councilwoman Fareed, until we get such a get the change. But if they have something, then they can go down to the nutrition center. But we're talking about what's legal and not legal. But somebody took their money to pay for some services down there that they had no business taking the money. If I'm wrong, then correct me. So what's the difference? And I'll just be keeping it real. I am grieved about this, because a lot of people on this council profess to be Christians and believe in God. All this back and forth, God is not the author of confusion. All this bickering back and forth about them having church, it is ungodly, and I'm upset about it. And my thing is, put them back where they were until we get, get it straight. What's the difference? Instead of you want to put them downstairs until we get it straight, leave them where they are until we get it straight. And not only that, for whatever dollars they took from them for the time that they've been in that nutritional center, you need to refund it back, because that's illegal, because that's not a rented space. I'm done.
So let me say first that I also don't agree with personal attacks on people's faith. I think that's uncalled for, Ms. Ferguson. I've actually, in my conversation with Mr. Brown, I already told him that I think that he should get his $200 back, because it was not right for us to take his money in the nutrition center, which, I mean, so I think that all of this, it is what it is at this point, but I've already talked to him about giving him his money back, because it was not fair for him to be put in the nutrition center and pay $200 for that. So, but I just hope that as a council, we can disagree about things instead of attacking people for whether they're godly, whether they have done different things. Like, have your opinion, but don't attack people. But whatever the council wants to do, because at this point, I'm tired of arguing it too, but I argue to remain consistent with, I do not have the authority to violate the rules and regulations. So if the council so wills that they pick and choose when they want to do things and how they want to do things, then by all means, do what you want to do. but we cannot pick and choose. This week, we're going to abide by the rules and regulations, and next week. So it has nothing to do with whether you love God or not love God, or whether we're trying to evict the church, because that's never been the conversation. In fact, it's always been, so we do not displace the church. What do we do? But the council cannot get its act together, because the council continues historically and still today to just, and why don't we just fire everybody? So the council could be the city manager, the go-room coordinator, the mayor, the treasurer, the police chief, because the council is trying to do too much. Have the policy, have the policies, procedures, abide by them. But at this point, I honestly don't care. If the council wants to pick and choose what they want to do, that's fine. I would like to see the church thrive. I would like to see more members come to the church, whether it's in a goat room or nutrition center. However it will be. So that's it. Consensus to put the church back in the gold room. Ms. Jones.
I don't have any issue with it as long as we're following what the gold room rule says for church, for religious services. That's what it's indicating. As long as that's what we're going to do, because that's what is written in the resolution. And until things have changed, then that's what we do. And I did want to drop this nugget on the council also about the nutrition center. Prince George's County was leasing the room for $11,000 a year. So what are we talking about? That room is not being, it can't be rented. They were leasing it. They were paying the city $11,000 a year to run that, for us to run the nutrition center. And then if we're going to, and if it ends up that somebody's going to go down in the nutrition center to use it, then that nutrition center needs to be renovated and cleaned up. We shouldn't have anybody down in there with the way it is now. And then it needs to have, once there is an event in there, then they need to have somebody down there to clean it. We're saying, Public Works is saying in their report that they disinfect the city hall twice a day. I don't believe that that's happening down in that nutrition center. And I know that Miss Allen and Miss Jones, they do the best that they can to keep it very clean, but still, even after an event like there was in there Saturday, there was no one to come in there and clean up like we should have for COVID. We say we're cleaning up for COVID, then we need to do just that. So
thank you. Councilman,
I'm sorry. We can, I say they can go back in the gold room as long as they're paying the religious, whatever the religious service stipend is, or whatever it is right now, then that's what they need to pay.
Minus what they've paid for already for the nutrition center, because I do think.
Well, I don't know how many times they've paid for the nutrition center downstairs, but that money can go as a credit towards, if the council pleases for them to go back upstairs, it can go as a credit.
Councilman Herring.
I thought Councilman Harrison had his hand up.
I would get to them. This is just consensus. I already started consensus.
Okay. Let me just say, I'm going to follow the rules and regulations that are set in place. And so this consensus is not really needed, because the rules and regulations says that you can have church services at this much an hour with this much of a deposit. So there's really no need for the council to be even making this decision if we abide by the rules that we pass and that's in place and that we swore to uphold. So I want them to go back into the gold room, because the rules and regulations say that they can be in the gold room, not because I'm saying they can be in the gold room. The law says that they can be in the gold room. So yes, they need to be back in the gold room.
Thank you, Councilman Herring. Councilwoman Fareed.
Yes.
Councilman Hairston, and then
Yes.
Okay. Councilwoman Guillaume.
Yes.
Councilwoman Ferguson.
What is the consensus again?
That they go back into the gold room.
Oh, yes.
Okay. And my answer is I abstain. I just don't know what the rules and regulations are. I do not have a problem with them going into the gold room. but consistent with me wanting to stick with the rules and regulations, because I just don't know what they are, I'm going to abstain. With that, Mr. Herring, or I can, if you want to do the pleasure, or I did tell Mr. Brown that I'll get back with him on Tuesday to let him know that he can go back in the gold room. Mr. Herring, did you want to do that, or did you want me to?
You've been having
Okay.
conversations with him.
Okay, thank you. There were two hands up. I saw Mr. Hairston first, and then Ms. Councilwoman Fareed, I'll come to you second.
Oh, I'm good. I was just gonna ask y'all if we can move on.
Okay. Councilwoman Fareed, I'm sorry, Councilwoman Ferguson, I apologize, Ms. Ferguson.
I just wanted to make a quick statement.
I can't hear you.
I just wanted to make a quick statement or to clarify, when I spoke about being ungodly, I wasn't talking about any individual. I'm talking about the manner in which we was discussing, this discussion was going, and that it was just, in the confusion in it, that this was ungodly. That's what I was talking about. I'm not one to be able to judge anybody's spiritual walk, but I think that all I'm saying is that we all are believers and we know that God is not an author of confusion. So I wasn't criticizing no one's particular walk, because I'm not one to, I'm not perfect. So I just want to clarify that I was just saying the manner in which it was going was ungodly.
Okay. Are there any other comments related to the administrative reports or any other matter? Mayor Cross, respectfully, we just don't have the time.
No, it's an update. You gotta let me have the update.
No, Mayor Cross.
Councilwoman Fareed.
Mayor Cross, we just do not have the time. I appreciate it, and I'm sorry, I don't want to be rude. I respect, you will have time next week during a regular session to speak, or if you have anything related to any individual councilwoman, please, you have everybody's number, you have emails, please reach out to them. Please don't take this as slight. It's not, it's just to move on, because we still have hopefully a quick closed session to go through. So respectfully, thank you. With that, I'd like to have a motion to adjourn the open meeting and go into closed meeting to talk about under section 304 meetings, closed session B. I think it's still subsection 2 and 1 as it relates to personnel. So can I have a motion? Do I have a motion to go into closed session?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Any discussion?
Yes, yes, I do. So you're saying subsection what again? What was it again?
It was 1, section 304B 1 and 2, I believe.
Oh, to discuss the appointment, employment, assignment, promotion, discipline, demotion, compensation, removal, resignation, or performance evaluation of appointees, employees, or officials over whom we have jurisdiction, and any other personnel matters that affects one or more specific individuals. So that's what we're talking about, individuals.
Yes, sir, individuals. And you can also throw in protect the privacy and reputation of individuals with respect to a matter that's not related to public business.
Okay.
And Mr. Herring, if you feel that anything that is being discussed in a closed session should be brought to an open meeting, I respect that and welcome you to say that with your seniority as a council member to determine, to ascertain what should be in the open, what's in closed. Completely respect that. Council Clerk, could you please do the call?
Yes, sir. Councilwoman Jones,
Yes.
Councilman Herring,
Thing.
Councilman Hairston,
Yes.
Councilwoman Guillaume,
Yes.
Councilwoman Fareed,
Yes.
Vice President Ferguson,
Yes.
President Curtis.
Yes.
Bev Sixtus is passed.
Thank you. With that, the open meeting is now closed. Thank you for coming. Hope you'll join a shorter version of this meeting next week for our regular meeting. Thank you. Everyone except for the council members can log off. And Madam Clerk, could you please stop recording? Is that it? Before you leave, can you make sure I'm the host, please?
You are indeed the host.
Oh.
And everything is
Mr.
stopped recording, right?
No, it has not. Mr. Cross?
I don't have the permission to stop because I just made you the host. I'm sorry.
Oh, no worries. And I can.
Just hit the record and save to the cloud.
Are you sure you want to stop recording to the cloud? Yeah.